Chapter 726. After that, the other 7 giants woke up from the illusions one after another. When they looked at the owner of the shocking thunder, they all appeared somewhat dazed. Shui Lingling frowned slightly and muttered to herself, "Will of thunder!" And Juanshi really comprehended the will of thunder. Shao Chen frowned and entered deep thought. The might of a will was truly terrifying. It could even intimidate a cultivator's soul. If Juanshi really made a move, even if everyone here worked together, they would not be a match for him. He had already left the others far behind. If they could not comprehend a will as well, then even if they were half-sages, they would be like ants before him. And Juanshi's lightning whip flickered with a silver electric light. The whip looked like a dignified, silver holy dragon as it swept out. The whip knocked the 5 fiend race loose cultivators, who had revealed their true forms, into the air. Their fiend bodies trembled in the air. After they landed, they reverted to human form. Strands of black smoke came out of their bodies, making them look very miserable. "Why are you still not scramming?" And Juanshi shouted as he stood on the dragon's head. He had a stern expression as he held the silver lightning whip. After exposing the will of thunder, Juanshi was not in a good mood. He did not show any politeness when he spoke. If these 5 fiend race loose cultivators dared to continue pestering him, he could only kill them. The 5 half-sage fiend race loose cultivators trembled as they climbed to their feet. Their eyes revealed deep fear as they headed out of the burial ground without looking back. When Juanshi landed on the ground, he casually swung his whip and shattered the huge true dragon skeleton, leaving only the 9 segments of its spine intact. As the skeleton shattered, the entire burial ground shook violently. Rocks continuously fell from above, rumbling as they fell. "Quick, let's go. This place is going to collapse. If we do not go out, we will be buried forever." Shui Lingling's expression changed slightly. Then, she led Shao Chen and the others towards the exit. The cave collapsed, and huge rocks fell from the sky. The entire place turned chaotic. Fortunately, the cultivators who came here all had high cultivations. In such a crisis, other than some extremely unlucky cultivators who could not circulate their quintessence in time and got crushed by the rocks, most would be fine. After exiting the cave, the ground behind Shao Chen and the others collapsed. Accompanied by a rumbling sound, the true dragon cave was completely covered in dust and turned into ruins. He could no longer continue searching, and it would be impossible for him to continue trying his luck here in the future. Several cultivators stood in front of the rubble, unwilling to leave for a long time. Some people obtained heavenly treasures and mystical resources that they wanted. It could be said that they had obtained their own fortuitous encounter. There were also people who paid with their lives here, turning into the earth, falling just like that, dying on the path of martial arts that was filled with difficulties. Shui Lingling sighed gently and said, "Let's go. The demonic barrier around the savage battlefield will recover after a while. At that time, it will be difficult to leave." The crowd slowly dispersed. At Shao Chen's suggestion, Shui Lingling took an extremely desolate path. 1 hour later, after scanning the area with his spiritual sense several times and confirming that there was no one within 5 kilometers, Shao Chen took out the dragon bone. Junsi smiled gently and said, "Junior brother Shao Chen, you are so cautious. Could it be that there is really dragon marrow in this dragon bone?" The others looked at Shao Chen curiously as well. They did not understand why Shao Chen was so insistent. After all, the chances of dragon marrow appearing were extremely low. This was especially so for a subordinate dragon. It was practically impossible. Previously, when Wang Meng and the others checked for dragon bones in front of so many people, they had not held much hope. If they were sure that there was dragon marrow, they would not have shown it to so many people, seeking trouble for themselves. Shao Chen smiled faintly as he held the true dragon's 9th vertebra with his right hand. He said, "That is hard to say. Perhaps a miracle will happen." Drip. As Shao Chen held the dragon bone, he shook it gently. The crisp sound of liquid sloshing came from the dragon bone. The four, including Shui Lingling, all showed astonished expressions. They even suspected that they were hallucinating. Roar. Before they could question it, the crisp sound of liquid sloshing suddenly turned into a resonant dragon roar. That dragon roar contained a boundless dragon might. True dragons had long since disappeared, and the ones that still existed in the world were only some drake. Even the draconic might of the most powerful draconic dragons was worlds apart from this. This was the purest true dragon might. The instant the dragon roar appeared, aside from Shao Chen and Shui Lingling, the other three were immediately sent flying. Right after the dragon roar sounded, another dragon roar followed. This time, Hu Hai and the other two could no longer hold on. They all vomited a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground, trembling. Even Shui Lingling had a somewhat grave expression. She shuffled her feet slightly. After the dragon might dispersed, Shui Lingling walked over joyfully. She said, 2 dragon roars. There are 2 drops of dragon marrow in there. Shao Chen, how did you discover it? The others walked over with pale complexions. Their eyes were still filled with disbelief. Hu Hai muttered, 2 drops of dragon marrow. If Wang Meng and the others knew about such a harvest, I wonder how jealous they would be. The value of 1 drop of dragon marrow was sufficient to offset all the precious spirit fruits and ores that those people had collected along the way. 2 drops of spirit stones completely surpassed the gains of the others. This was especially so for the genius cultivators who came here specifically for the dragon marrow. This was a fatal temptation. To them, if they could not obtain the dragon marrow, no matter how many treasures they collected, it would be useless. 5 kilometers away, Wang Meng's body paused for a moment. A strange look flashed in his eyes as he carefully sensed the faint fluctuations in the air. After a while, Wang Meng's eyes lit up. His lips curled up in a smile as he said, "It's dragon marrow. What a coincidence." After Wang Meng recognized Shao Chen, he wanted to end his relationship with Shao Chen. He did not want to lose half a drop of dragon marrow for nothing. However, when Wang Meng followed Shao Chen, he quickly sensed a spiritual sense that was much stronger than mental energy. Wang Meng was very knowledgeable. The first possibility that came to his mind was that Shui Lingling had obtained a rather powerful mental energy martial technique. After Shao Chen dodged once, he chose to follow far behind the group of people. Back to where Shao Chen and the others were, Hu Hai and the others rejoiced at first. However, they quickly calmed down. No matter what, the 2 drops of dragon marrow would not end up in their hand. First, senior sister, we will not split this dragon marrow. You and junior brother Shao Chen can have a drop each, Hu Hai and the others said calmly. Shui Lingling nodded and said, "All right. I will compensate you with some medial-grade spirit-gathering pearls later. However, I have no use for this drop of dragon marrow." Shao Chen looked at Shui Lingling suspiciously. Since there were 2 drops of dragon marrow, he definitely had to give one away. He did not know why Shui Lingling did not want it. Dragon marrow mainly strengthens a cultivator's physical body's defense. 1 drop of dragon marrow can raise my defense by about 20%. Shui Lingling carried the purple bow on her back and stroked the hair on her forehead. She chuckled and said, "However, I mainly cultivate archery and movement techniques. The dragon marrow is not very useful to me, so I might as well help you, junior martial brother. In the future, you have to take out a natural treasure of equal value to the dragon marrow and return it to me." Shao Chen never liked to put on airs. The dragon marrow was indeed very useful to him. He performed a cupped fist salute and said, "Many thanks, senior sister. Shao Chen will remember this favor." Just as Shui Lingling was about to say something, she frowned slightly on her pretty face. She looked up and said, "Someone is coming." The group turned their heads and saw a dim light shooting through the air, looking like a beam of light rushing over. This person did not hide his strong aura at all. Before he even got close, a strong wind blew, kicking up sand and rocks. Xiao Chen and the others could not help but close their eyes. When the strong wind dissipated, the arrogant and tyrannical Wang Meng carrying the dragon-tooth saber on his back appeared before the group with a smile on his face. Shui Lingling, congratulations to your Haotian sect. You have gained another proud disciple. Wang Meng casually drew his dragon-tooth saber and placed both hands on its hilt as he stood upright on the ground. Of the 7 giants, Wang Meng had the most arrogant temper. He never hid it, so his relationships with others were poor. Shui Lingling could not be bothered to speak nonsense with him. She removed the purple bough with her right hand and said coldly, "You are here for the dragon marrow, right? I really do not know where you get your confidence to appear before me in such an open space." Wang Meng, who had fought alongside Shui Lingling in the Bushan Palace, knew better than others how mighty the bough in Shui Lingling's hand was. Many cultivators of the foreign races and demonic world experts had died to this bough. Wang Meng looked at Xiao Chen with some fear and smiled faintly. Then, he pointed at Xiao Chen and said, "I am here to look for him, not to cause trouble for you. You should know that he won half a drop of dragon marrow from me, right?" Xiao Chen smiled bitterly to himself. He knew that half a drop of dragon marrow would not be that easy to obtain. Trouble finally came looking for him. Shui Lingling narrowed her eyes and said coldly, "You can't look for him either. As for the matter of the half a drop of dragon marrow, if you want to look for it, go look for Nuanmuyun. What is so great about looking for my junior brother?" Wang Meng had not expected Shui Lingling to be so unyielding. His gaze turned cold, and he released an indistinct killing chi. He said, "No matter what you think, we have to settle this grudge. Otherwise, I will not be able to calm down." Bai Wuxue gave him 1 year. "I will not bully the weak. As long as he can receive one move from me, this matter will be settled. If he does not want to receive it, that is fine. In that case, give me 1 drop of dragon marrow to end this matter. Otherwise..." Shui Lingling did not show any fear. Her gentle and pretty face was covered in frost, and her killing chi had not been released yet. She asked indifferently, "Otherwise what?" Wang Meng smiled coldly and said, "Otherwise, he might not be able to live past 1 year, unless he stays in the Haotian sect and does not come out." "Good. In that case, I will kill you now." Earlier, when Bai Wuxue threatened Shui Lingling in the cave, she had already been suppressing her anger. Now that she was in such an open area, she was in danger from Wang Meng. Shui Lingling could no longer hold back her rage. She did not say anything more and unleashed all her killing chi. Her purple robes fluttered, and her fine black hair fluttered in the wind. Then, she suddenly released the bowstring in her right hand. A fiery light flickered like a meteor, illuminating the dark space of the savage battlefield. In the blink of an eye, it arrived before Wang Meng. The fiery light illuminated the sky. The light disappeared in a flash, and the dark space returned to normal. Chapter 727. No one could describe how fast that arrow was. If it wasn't for the shock brought by the strong light to the eyes, it was very likely that they would think that it was just an illusion. Although Wang Meng's gaze wandered, it never left Shui Lingling's right hand, which was drawing the bowstring. Before Shui Lingling let go, Wang Meng had already dodged. The instant the light vanished, Wang Meng had already retreated 100 meters. A finger-sized hole appeared where he originally stood. It was dark and deep, and no one knew how deep it was. The entire place was calm, except for the sound of the wind. The air froze and lingered for a long time, looking very strange. Hu Hai and the other 2 knew Shui Lingling's strength. The instant she released the arrow, they immediately retreated. Xiao Chen followed suit, following his instincts. Bang! Indeed, everything that happened earlier was just the calm before the storm. The profound yang arrow, which had penetrated an unknown distance into the ground, suddenly exploded. The flat ground suddenly cracked, and the crack extended for a kilometer. Countless pieces of mud splattered in all directions like fairies scattering their wings. Rumble! The ground trembled, and mud poured down like a torrential rain. When one looked up, they saw many huge pieces of mud the size of small hills. Supported by the shock waves, the mud floated up into the sky. The scene was very chaotic, spectacular, and shocking. First Senior Sister is really angry. In the cave, First Senior Sister could not bring out her strength at all. Now that she is in such an open space, she has nothing to worry about. Hu Hai and the other two were flabbergasted. They had not seen Shui Lingling this angry in a long time. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Mud and rocks flew everywhere. Wang Meng held his dragon-tooth saber in the chaotic sky as he calmly leaped from one huge rock to another, approaching Shui Lingling. Her fine black hair fluttered like a waterfall. Shui Lingling's gentle face turned cold. Her purple robes fluttered, and killing qi radiated from her body. Xiao Chen drew back the bowstring and let go. 3 beams of fire each flew out in arcs. Her movements were as smooth as flowing water, direct and efficient, without any pause. Bang! The 3 streams of flames shattered a huge rock under Wang Meng's feet. The flowing light turned into a blazing flame that swept out. Wang Meng's body swayed in the air like a kite. Shui Lingling pushed off the ground with her toes, and her graceful figure quickly jumped up from the ground. She pulled the bowstring and a stream of fire shot out. The red light shone in the dusky space, like fireworks blooming, the light never extinguishing, never extinguishing. Amidst the boundless flames, Wang Meng's agile body could be seen weaving through the arrows, trying to get closer to Shui Lingling. However, the terrain here was wide and flat, stretching out endlessly. Her fine black hair fluttered in the wind. That graceful purple figure was like a fairy, nimbly leaping about. She did not give Wang Meng any chance to get close at all. Instead, she forced Wang Meng to deal with her. The direction in which Shui Lingling shot her arrows was very particular. Her figure jumped and formed a huge circle. In the end, the radius of the circle continued to shrink, and the space that Wang Meng could dodge to was getting smaller and smaller. The situation did not look good for Wang Meng. Although the arrows did not hit Wang Meng, the shock waves from the explosion of the flowing light drained his protective quintessence. The arrows were like light, flickering and disappearing. They were extremely fast, making everyone tense up at all times. They did not dare to relax at all, putting immense mental pressure on them. Damn it! To think that I'm fighting with Shui Lingling on a plane. It looks like I really went crazy. Wang Meng could not help cursing in a low voice when he dodged an arrow. However, the shock waves sent him flying. After thinking for a while, Wang Meng gave up on his original plan. He charged out of Shui Lingling's formless encirclement and flew back. After thinking for a while, Xiao Chen gave up on his original plan. He charged out of Shui Lingling's formless encirclement and flew back. Shui Lingling held up her bow and gave chase. As the flowing light shot out, a 1,000-meter-long pit occasionally appeared on the flat ground, flabbergasting everyone. The 2 of them disappeared from Hu Hai's and the other's sight for a long time. However, they could still occasionally hear loud explosions coming from the distance. Xiao Chen looked into the distance for a long time before withdrawing his gaze. He said, "There is no need to chase so far, right?" A smile flashed on Junxi's face. She said softly, "First Senior Sister, this is to help you deal with this problem. Wang Meng has always been insolent. He is the kind of person who will vent his anger. If you only chase him away, he will come and seek trouble for you sooner or later. You have to make him back off." Hu Hai said, "Let's go as well. The direction that Wang Meng fled in is also the exit of the savage battlefield." The group followed the battle marks that Shui Lingling left behind and quickly gave chase. Who would have imagined that they would walk for 3 days and 3 nights? Explosions and flares occasionally rang out in front. After chasing for 3 days, Shui Lingling still did not give up. Wang Meng was in a miserable state as well. There were many cultivators outside the exit of the savage battlefield. These people did not have the strength to enter on their own, but their fellow sect members or friends did. Hence, they waited here for news, hoping that the people they knew would return safely. Move aside. Move aside. On this particular day, a loud sound suddenly came from the exit. A man in tattered clothes and covered in dirt, looking like a beggar, rushed out in a hurry while holding a dragon-tooth saber. Holding a dragon-tooth saber, he rushed out from inside and shouted at the people blocking his way. A strong aura spread out from his body, forcing everyone to move aside. Who is this person? He is so strong, but why is he in such a sorry state? That person's hair was charred black, and his face was covered in dirt. His appearance could not be seen clearly, which confused the others. Only when someone recognized the signature dragon-tooth saber did they exclaim in shock, "That is Wang Meng, the most arrogant of the 7 giants. Who is so powerful to be able to force him into such a state?" It was like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's gazes were immediately drawn over. Wang Meng's clothes were tattered, his hair was charred, his face was covered in dirt, and his body was covered in wounds. His eyes were bloodshot and he looked dispirited. He looked like a refugee. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Just as everyone was shocked, 9 resplendent meteor-like fiery lights shot out from the entrance. Each strand of fiery light was an arrow made of profound yang-true flame. They were so dazzling that no one dared to look at them directly. Wang Meng, who was running forward, sensed the 9 swift fiery lights behind him. His eyes were filled with an extremely impatient expression. He seemed to be quite resentful, but there was nothing he could do. Wang Meng grasped the dragon-tooth saber tightly and quickly turned around. Saber lights danced, and the dragon-tooth saber seemed to come to life as he swung it 9 times. Every time Wang Meng swung the saber, the arrow would explode. The huge impact blasted a horrifying deep pit in the ground. Shock waves surged and kicked up a lot of dust. After 9 loud explosions, the place where Wang Meng stood was already covered in dust. Thick smoke and dust filled the air. A series of coughs could be clearly heard coming from inside. "Shui Lingling, you are really ruthless. You chased me for 3 days and 3 nights. I have had enough. As for the matter of the half-drop of dragon marrow, I will not seek trouble for that brat anymore. Can you stop now?" Wang Meng roared with all his might amidst the surging dust cloud. Shui Lingling floated down from the air, holding her purple bow. A gentle expression appeared on her frosty face. She smiled gently and said, "Wouldn't it have been fine if you had said so earlier? Why did you have to seek trouble for yourself?" When the dust cloud settled, Wang Meng looked at Shui Lingling, who was still in high spirits. She looked like she had no problem chasing him for 3 days and 3 nights. Wang Meng glared hatefully at Xiao Chen and quickly left. This time, he had shown weakness in front of so many people. He had completely lost face. So, he was targeted by Shui Lingling in the plains. Wang Meng deserves to be unlucky. After Shui Lingling pulled away, even in Juanxi, one of the 7 giants, would have a hard time dealing with him. After Shui Lingling appeared, the others finally understood. They felt that Wang Meng's encounter was reasonable and there was nothing to be surprised about. After another 4 hours, Xiao Chen's group of 4 arrived with fatigued expressions. When they saw Shui Lingling's figure, they heaved a sigh of relief. For the past 3 days, they had chased relentlessly without any rest. They were indeed very tired. If even they were in such a state, it was easy to imagine how Wang Meng, who was constantly in danger, had endured the past 3 days. Wang Meng's matter allowed Xiao Chen to see another side of Shui Lingling. He could not help but sigh ruefully. Sometimes, when a woman became ruthless, no matter how arrogant or domineering you were, you would have to lower your head and show weakness. Honestly speaking, Xiao Chen did not feel that there was anything wrong with Wang Meng's suggestion. Ending all grudges with one saber strike was something he could accept. Only after Shui Lingling explained did Xiao Chen understand. Of the 7 giants, Wang Meng's explosive power in close combat was the most horrifying. Xiao Chen was not like Bai Wuxue, whose state of ice paid particular attention to the aftermath, using cold qi to kill without anyone realizing it. Xiao Chen's horrifying explosive power could take someone's life in one move. This matter was just an interlude. It did not disrupt the group's journey. The group of people on the profound Sun Bird continued on their way back to the Haotian sect. Since there was nothing to do along the way, Shui Lingling and the others could not help but ask about what happened after Xiao Chen was swept away by the true dragon storm. How did his strength improve so rapidly in just half a month? Naturally, Xiao Chen could not speak of the matter of the Blue Dragon Palace. He hid it, only saying that he found a peak-grade earth essence fruit and refined his quintessence twice. Right, that makes sense. In history, the cultivators who succeeded in refining their quintessence twice would usually erupt with horrifying combat prowess above their cultivation. After Shui Lingling heard everything, she analyzed seriously. Furthermore, with your physical body's strength and your accumulations, you can shock the world with one brilliant feat. Out of curiosity, Junci asked, First Senior Sister, according to what you said, Xiao Chen will be able to defeat Bai Wuxue easily in 1 year. Shui Lingling pondered this. Then, she shook her head slightly and said, It is hard to say. For a cultivator's life, 1 year is too short. However, this is a special era. Too many things can happen in 1 year. Hu Hai and the others exchanged glances. Then, they asked doubtfully, What special era? The Age of Geniuses? Shui Lingling nodded and said, That's right. The next year will be the most crucial year. You spend most of your time in the Haotian sect and do not have enough contact. This is the information I obtained from Bushan Palace. Chapter 728. Be it the geniuses from the lower realms or the young experts of the Tianwu domain, there are several people who are even more talented than Xiao Chen. However, they lack accumulations, so they did not come to the savage battlefield. A strange look flashed in the eyes of Hu Hai and the other two. They found this somewhat incredible. It would be hard to find 10 heaven-defying people like Xiao Chen in the Tianwu domain in 100 years. However, Shui Lingling said that there were several geniuses who were even stronger than Xiao Chen. This was too shocking. Shui Lingling continued, There is an insurmountable bottleneck between half-sage and martial sage. Relying on treasures like spirit-gathering pearls will not have any effect. One can only rely on one's own comprehension and experience. Within 1 year, if the so-called 7 giants of the Tianwu domain do not improve, at least half of them will be defeated by the newcomers. Xiao Chen entered deep thought. Shui Lingling's words might be a little exaggerated, but they should be true. The savage battlefield was just the start of a great era. After this, there would be an endless stream of newcomers. Half a month later, the Haotian city appeared in the distance. After a long time, Xiao Chen saw the familiar city walls and people again. This made him feel like he had returned home. He did not need to think about anything and could rest properly. Before everyone went their separate ways, Shui Lingling asked Xiao Chen to stay behind. She said, Junior brother Xiao Chen, do you have any plans for the future? If you are willing, I can make you a true inheritor. True inheritor was a status that many people in the Haotian sect dreamed of. Once one became one, not only would one be able to practice the heaven-ranked cultivation techniques of the Haotian sect, but they would also obtain all sorts of resources and more freedom. If one's strength was outstanding, the sect would even send them to the Bushan Palace to interact with the elites of the entire Tianwu domain. They would compete with the cultivators of the other races and experience the even more majestic Kunlun Great World. Shui Lingling continued, As long as you are willing, I can immediately bring you to the Central Province's Bushan Palace. That is the center of the Tianwu domain, where all the elites of the human race gather. While you are there, your strength will increase even faster. 1 year later, your chances of defeating Bai Wuxue will be even greater. There were many benefits to becoming a true inheritor. One could imagine the benefits one would receive if they entered the Bushan Palace. However, everything had a price. Once he accepted it, he would definitely have to bear some responsibilities or obligations. Xiao Chen was a free person and didn't like to be restricted. Moreover, he had promised Aojiao that he would go to a place. There was a conflict of time between the two, and there was no way to reconcile. He could only decline Shui Lingling's invitation. Shui Lingling smiled warmly and said, "All right, I won't force you. If you need anything, you can come to me at any time. I'll be in the Haotian sect for the next month. Farewell." Xiao Chen cupped his hands and left. As Shui Lingling watched Xiao Chen leave, she revealed a contemplative expression on her gentle and pretty face. She muttered, "Perhaps only the sect master can convince him." When Xiao Chen returned to his courtyard, he did not do anything. First, he took a hot bath, completely relaxing his body and mind, which had been tense for the past few days. Then, he made a table full of dishes and had a good meal. After everything was done, he went back to his room. After everything was done, Xiao Chen slowly organized the treasures that he had not used in time. Naturally, the first was the dragon mark fruit, which could increase one's vital qi by 150 tons of force. However, Xiao Chen had some doubts about the medicinal energy of this dragon mark fruit. Right now, his physical body was already a rank 1 sage body. Whether it could increase 150 tons of force of vital qi was still a big question mark. Xiao Chen estimated that he could increase his vital qi by 50 tons of force at most, and that would already be pretty good. Naturally, the second item was the dragon bones containing the 2 drops of dragon marrow. Dragon marrow was good stuff. After Xiao Chen consumed half a drop of dragon marrow, he could clearly feel the changes in his bones. During the battle, Xiao Chen had experienced it firsthand. Bai Wushua's cold poison had not seeped into his internal organs. This had a lot to do with the dragon bones that had been modified by the dragon marrow. The 2 drops of dragon marrow could strengthen Xiao Chen's bones further improving his defense. It might even undergo a complete transformation. The third item was the dragon tone art, a soundwave-type martial technique that countered the deity race's mental energy martial technique. In the future, when Xiao Chen left the Tianwu domain, he would definitely be able to use it. As for the last item, it was that mysterious painting of the Qing Emperor. This item was too strange. Even until now, Xiao Chen did not have the courage to open it again. That incomparably realistic feeling of death was not a good feeling. However, the exquisite drawing the saber of the person in the painting had an incredible allure. One could not help but want to take a look. This was simply too contradictory. Aside from this, there was a large pile of true dragon bones in the ring. However, those things could only be used to exchange for resources. Xiao Chen had no use for them. The 4 treasures were placed before Xiao Chen. He had indeed gained a lot from this trip to the savage battlefield. Not only had his strength soared, surpassing his expectations, but his gains were also gratifying. Fortuitous encounters. No wonder the cultivators of the world loved fortuitous encounters so much. Even at the risk of death, they still rushed forward. Xiao Chen held the dragon mark fruit in his hand and thought for a while. In the end, he gave up on consuming it. The foundation of his physical body was too strong. He would not be able to bring out the full medicinal energy of the dragon mark fruit. He might as well keep it and give it to Yu Chenxi when the time came. Yu Chenxi specialized in fist technique. Her vital qi could increase by 150 tons of force. This would definitely be of great help to her close combat. Xiao Chen took out 2 jade bottles and broke open the true dragon bones. 2 drops of golden dragon marrow containing pure dragon might fell into the jade bottles. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and swallowed the 2 drops of dragon marrow, which others coveted. Then, he sat down cross-legged and quietly waited for the dragon marrow to take effect. When Xiao Chen looked within himself, he discovered that his entire skeleton was covered in a layer of dazzling golden light. That was the dragon marrow slowly seeping into his bones. The previous half-drop of dragon marrow did not have such a mysterious phenomenon. It was probably too diluted. The amount of dragon marrow that had seeped into every bone was too little. As the dragon marrow slowly seeped into Xiao Qin, every bone in his body gave off soft sounds. Every bone seemed to be changing from the inside out. When all of the dragon marrow had seeped into the bones, the golden light on the bones finally disappeared. When Xiao Qin looked carefully, he discovered that the color of his bones had changed. They now glowed with a faint golden light. The golden light was very faint. However, it gave his fragile bones a texture. With one look, he could tell that they had become much sturdier. Xiao Qin sensed that there seemed to be something more in his entire skeleton. He carefully sensed for a long time and finally discovered that his entire skeleton was connected. There was an indistinct barrier of light, forming an internal layer of defense in his body. After withdrawing his consciousness, Xiao Qin's face lit up with joy. He muttered to himself, "It looks like when I consumed the half-drop of dragon marrow, it already formed an internal layer of defense. This is the secret to blocking by Wushue's cold poison." However, the effect of the half-drop of dragon marrow was too little. It could not form a visible barrier of light. Xiao Qin only had such an effect after consuming another 2 drops of dragon marrow. If he ran into Bai Wuxue again in the future, the other party's cold poison, which gave him a headache, might be completely ineffective against him. Furthermore, with an additional internal layer of defense, Xiao Qin's overall defense was much stronger than before. As Xiao Qin held the dragon bones with the dragon marrow removed, he thought to himself, "The barrier of light is still too faint. This internal layer of defense still has a lot of potential." Just as Xiao Qin was experiencing the benefits of consuming the 2 drops of dragon marrow, a group of uninvited guests came to his courtyard with hostile gazes when they heard that he had returned. This group was led by Hua Tianhe, the true inheritors of the other sect. Xiao Qin put away the dragon tone art. For now, he did not intend to learn this martial technique. He did not have the time to do so. Looking at the painting of the Qing Emperor drawing the saber, Xiao Qin hesitated for a long time. In the end, he decided to unfurl the painting. The drawing of the saber of the person in the painting was simply too tempting. It was clearly just a casual posture. However, Xiao Qin could see several directions from which the saber could be drawn. There were even some that he did not know of. Such a drawing the saber gave Xiao Qin a significant impact. If he could learn it, his saber techniques would definitely improve. Suddenly, Xiao Qin frowned and casually placed the painting of the Qing Emperor drawing the saber into his universe ring. Xiao Qin looked out of the courtyard and muttered to himself for a while. Then, his figure flashed and he quickly drifted out. Standing on the blue dragon image, Xiao Qin arrived outside the courtyard. Then, he expressionlessly sized up Hua Tianhe, Yun Feiyu, and the others. The eyes of the other 5 contained a murderous intent. Their expressions were cold, and they placed their right hands on their swords. Clearly, they did not come with good intentions. Xiao Qin looked up and said calmly, "Senior brothers, I wonder what brings you to this small courtyard?" Hua Tianhe and the others sized up Xiao Qin. Shock immediately appeared in their eyes. In a short 2 months, Xiao Qin's strength had become somewhat unfathomable. However, in the end, Xiao Qin was only a peak medial grade martial monarch. Hua Tianhe felt slightly more at ease. He was a late-stage, superior grade martial monarch. Of the other 4, the weakest was a middle-stage, superior grade martial monarch. In terms of numbers and cultivation, they could completely suppress Xiao Qin. Thinking of this, Hua Tianhe's face sank. He could not be bothered to speak any nonsense. He said in a cold voice, "Xiao Qin, let me ask you, were you the one who sneak-attacked us in the savage beast forest that day?" Xiao Qin's expression did not change. He smiled faintly and said, "If you do not have any evidence, I hope Senior Brother Hua will not speak nonsense. A blue-robed swordsman behind Hua Tianhe stepped forward and pointed at Xiao Chen. He said, "Do you want evidence? After the incident, Wang Qing personally told us that you were not with them. Instead, you were sneakily hiding. You are the most suspicious." Xiao Chen had not expected Wang Qing to do such a thing. This somewhat surprised him. However, that was then and this was now. Whether there was evidence or suspicion was no longer important. Xiao Chen did not deny it. He said, "Just say what you want to say. There is no need to beat around the bush." Hua Tianhe smiled and said, "Since you already admit to it, I will be straightforward. You caused us to lose the right to go to the savage battlefield. You have to bear the responsibility for this loss." "That's right. You have to bear the responsibility. Hand over all the treasures you obtained from the savage battlefield and give each of us 1,000,000 superior-grade spirit stones. Otherwise we will not have a good time in the Haotian sect," a person behind Hua Tianhe shouted sternly. The matter of Xiao Chen exchanging 100 moves with Bai Wuxue and remaining undefeated had not spread yet. Hence, these people all believed that they already had Xiao Chen in the bag. Hence, their words were not polite at all and were overbearing. Chapter 729. I finally revealed my foxtail. Xiao Chen smiled coldly to himself. He said indifferently, "Sorry, I will use what I can use for myself. If I cannot use it, I will give it to my friends. I will not give it to a bunch of trash." The five had expected that Xiao Chen would not give in obediently. One of the people behind Xiao Chen smiled coldly and said, "Ha ha. Since you call us trash, then junior brother Xiao Chen must be very capable. I, Lian Qing, am here to seek some advice." "Xiao." Lian Qing drew his sword light and soared into the air. A white mist appeared on his sword, giving off a cold qi. Unexpectedly, Lian Qing's state was the same as Bai Wuxue's. A cold wind blew, and the temperature plummeted. Frost immediately covered the ground, spreading up from under Xiao Chen's feet. Lian Qing was very confident in his state of ice. Not only could it reduce his opponent's speed, but it could also reduce his opponent's speed. Not only could it reduce the opponent's speed, but it could also formlessly infiltrate the opponent's body and form a cold poison, killing the opponent without them realizing it. When the sword light arrived, Xiao Chen circulated his vital qi and gently pushed out with his hand. A surging force struck the tip of the sword. One. The 1-meter-long sword started to tremble, and the force flowed along the blade and into Lian Qing's right hand. The vast force pulled Lian Qing back, nearly causing him to lose his grip on the sword. Lian Qing was shocked. He could not understand why his state of ice did not have any effect on Xiao Chen. Furthermore, since when did Xiao Chen's strength become so great? With a gentle push, Xiao Chen easily broke Lian Qing's flying sword strike. The scene immediately caused Hua Tianhe and the others to stare with their eyes wide open and their mouths agape. However, what shocked them even more was yet to come. Xiao Chen grasped this opportunity and unleashed his state of thunder. Electricity instantly tore apart the frost on the ground. Bang! Xiao Chen took a step forward, and a blue dragon image appeared under his feet, carrying him into the air. Vital qi surged in Xiao Chen's body like a raging river, surging endlessly. His qi and blood surged, and his aura looked like a rainbow piercing through the sun. His white robes fluttered in the wind, his long hair dancing in the wind. Xiao Chen was like an ancient god of war, stepping on a blue dragon. Lian Qing, who hadn't even had time to turn around, had a trace of fear in his eyes when he saw Xiao Chen flying towards him. He hurriedly retreated. "Do you think you can escape?" Xiao Chen reacted quickly. He moved at lightning speed and grabbed Lian Qing's wrist in an instant. 1,000 tons of vital qi surged and roared in his body, giving off a rumbling sound like that of a stormy sea. Looking at his body, one could feel a clump of raging flames burning. That was the invisible pressure produced when one's physical body was powerful and their qi and blood were vigorous to the extreme. Lien Qing felt as if his wrist was being clamped down by a pair of iron pincers. His face turned red, and no matter how much Zhen Yuan he used, he was unable to break free. Xiao Chen casually pulled and then quickly let go. Lien Qing was thrown high up into the air like a sandbag, falling towards the lake behind him. You are indeed not talented. You can't even be considered trash, Xiao Chen said calmly as he watched Lien Qing fly away and land on the ground. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen flung Lien Qing into the air. Hua Qianhe and the other four felt a chill run down their back. They were in disbelief. How was this the strength of a peak medial-grade martial monarch? The few of you, if you think you are not trash, then come with me, Xiao Chen said casually. Then he soared into the air and summoned out 3 blue dragons. Xiao Chen's figure flickered, and the berserk dragons danced around. In an instant, he caught up to Lien Qing in the air. Xiao Chen casually raised his foot and stomped on Lien Qing's ribs, sending him flying like a cannonball into the lake, creating a large splash. The entire process was very simple. A middle-stage superior-grade martial monarch was toyed with by Xiao Chen, unable to resist at all. Hua Qianhe and the others were both shocked and enraged. Xiao Chen's casual words trampled on their dignity so badly that they could not bear to look at them. As true inheritors, they were respected everywhere they went in the Haotian sect, worshipping them. However, today, Xiao Chen did not care at all, directly saying that they were just a bunch of trash. The most important thing was that the contrast was too great. Originally, the few of them had intended to consider Xiao Chen's improvement. Given their strength, if they worked together, it would be easy to subdue Xiao Chen. However, the development of the situation exceeded their expectations. In just one exchange, Xiao Chen used the most tyrannical method to toss Lien Qing out. Hua Qianhe quickly analyzed the situation. Then, he said calmly, he probably consumed some natural treasure to strengthen his physical body in the savage battlefield. Even if we do not get close to him, we will still be able to defeat him if we fight him with quintessence. That's right. This fellow is too arrogant. If we cannot suppress his arrogance this time and he becomes a true inheritor in the future, we will not be able to survive in the Haotian sect. Let's work together and trample on him. The other 3 also revealed ferocious gazes as they agreed with Hua Qianhe. Xiao Chen's rise terrified them from the bottom of their hearts. No matter what, they had to trample on him. Xiao! 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 4 beams of light shot out and landed on the water, surrounding Xiao Chen. They feared Xiao Chen's horrifying physical body, so they did not dare to get too close. Xiao Chen glanced at them and figured out their intentions. He drew out his lunar shadow saber and calmly placed his right hand on its hilt. There was no wind or waves on the calm surface of the lake. Under the strong auras of the 5, the flowing water seemed to have stopped, not moving at all. Hua Qianhe's group of 4 placed their hands on the hilts of their swords as they looked coldly at Xiao Chen. A heavy murderous intent appeared in the depths of their eyes. Ka! Ka! The 4 swords were drawn at the same time. Surging sword qi kicked up waves as they flew at Xiao Chen. Each strand of sword qi contained a different state. Some were like strong winds, some were like surging flames, some were as heavy as earth, and some were as sharp as metal. The state of wind, the state of fire, the state of earth, and the state of metal supported the sword qi of the 4 states. From a distance, it looked very majestic amid the splashes of water. Towering waves and layers of water appeared. Under such a scene, the white-robed Xiao Chen looked as insignificant as an ant. Xiao Chen did not show any fear. He quickly drew his saber with his right hand, and the immortal state of thunder surged out. Thunderclouds filled the sky above, and electric light shot out from the saber. Bang! 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 Xiao Chen's figure moved as he swung his saber 4 times, shattering the 4 strands of sword qi. Quintessence surged out, and a huge pillar of water shot up into the sky from the lake. Hua Qianyu's group of 4 made up their minds not to get close to Xiao Chen. Their nimble figures leaped quickly on the water, sending strands of sword chi at Xiao Chen. They wanted to use their advantage in cultivation to exhaust Xiao Chen to death. When Xiao Chen ran out of quintessence, they would be able to do whatever they wanted to him. Xiao Chen understood. He had already condensed his quintessence twice. In terms of quintessence, he had no less than any of them. If they really wanted to fight like this, Xiao Chen would be happy to do so. By the time he ran out of quintessence, he would be able to use the strength of his physical body to crush this group of people. Electric light surged on the calm lake, a strong wind howled and flames surged. All sorts of quintessence shot out from the surface of the lake. They kicked up huge waves and boundless ripples. The entire lake turned chaotic. Such fluctuations immediately startled the inner sect disciples living nearby. When they saw the faces of the two sides fighting, they were all startled. What's going on? Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen is fighting with Hua Tianhe's group. He is fighting 1 against 4, and he is not at a disadvantage. Since when did Xiao Chen become so strong? More cultivators gathered at the lakeside to watch. Intense shock filled their eyes. The difference in status between the two sides was simply too great. Xiao Chen was just an inner sect disciple who had just joined the sect half a year ago. On the other side, there was a strong true inheritor with a noble status. Although Yun Feiyu had not officially become a true inheritor, his strength was already recognized to be on the same level as a true inheritor. For true inheritors had to fight so bitterly against one inner sect disciple. Such a situation had never happened before in the history of the Haotian sect. Boundless sword chi shot at Xiao Chen like cannonballs. Xiao Chen did not panic, only brandishing the saber in his hand. He broke the various sword chi coming at him one by one. Then, he kept his quintessence and did not react. He only calmly watched the 4 people who wanted to knock him down immediately. Hua Tianhe and the other 3 gradually felt that something was wrong. Almost 1 hour had passed, but Xiao Chen did not have any quintessence left. Senior brother Hua, this brat is strange. I have already exhausted 2/3 of my quintessence, but he still looks fine. I have exhausted more than half of my quintessence as well. If this continues, I will be completely out of combat prowess. The 4 sent voice projections to Hua Tianhe one after another. Some fluster appeared in their hearts. They could not figure out Xiao Chen at all. Hua Tianhe said sullenly, "Never mind. Let's cut off all means of retreat and use our heaven-ranked martial techniques together. I don't believe that we cannot destroy him." The combined attacks of 4 heaven-ranked martial techniques were so mighty that even a half-sage would not dare to underestimate them. If a weaker half-sage got struck, they would immediately be severely injured. Xiao Chen looked around the 4's faces and guessed what they were thinking. It is time to end this. These people are much weaker than Shimin Bao. Now that I have consumed 2 more drops of dragon marrow, they are no longer on the same level as me. After making up his mind, Xiao Chen looked around and fixed his gaze on Yun Feiyu, the former top inner sect disciple. The blue dragon swung its tail, and a strong wind blew, creating an arc. Xiao Chen stood on the blue dragon and instantly arrived before Yun Feiyu. Yun Feiyu's face sank. Before he could react, Xiao Chen's attack arrived. Ghostly image chop. Saber lights danced around, sending out 72 saber images. The real and fake were hard to distinguish, looking like phantoms. Each saber image contained the immortal state of thunder and Xiao Chen's great perfection saber intent. Its might was unfathomable. Dang, dang, dang. The saber and sword clashed, creating intense sparks. Yun Feiyu blocked 72 saber strike. With each strike, he was pushed back 100 meters. By the time the others reacted, Xiao Chen had already pushed Yun Feiyu back more than 7 kilometers. Chase. We cannot let him defeat us one by one. Hua Tianhe's expression changed drastically as he quickly led the remaining 2 people in pursuit. However, the group only advanced 1 kilometer before they heard a miserable shriek. A boundless sea of lightning blasted Yun Feiyu, inflicting internal injuries. He vomited a mouthful of blood and sank to the bottom of the lake. A boundless sea of lightning appeared in front of them. With a glance, all they saw was electric light. Xiao Chen's figure was nowhere to be seen. Chapter 730. Hua Tianhe was the first to feel that something was wrong. He felt like a venomous snake was staring at him. He did not know where his opponent was hiding. Retreat. Quickly retreat. The group rushed over. However, when they were less than a kilometer away, they immediately retreated. This baffled the many disciples at the lakeshore. However, they soon realized why Hua Tianhe and his two lackeys had decided to retreat. A strand of saber light appeared from somewhere in the boundless sea of lightning. It was untraceable and swept through the area. Pu Ci. As the saber light flashed, finger-sized bloody holes appeared in the chests of Hua Tianhe's group. Blood spurted out like a fountain. The wounds were less than 2 centimeters away from their hearts. If Xiao Chen had not shown mercy, the three would have died on the spot. Hua Tianhe paled as he looked at the white figure in front in disbelief. His group really lost to an inner sect disciple who was only a peak medial grade martial monarch. Xiao Chen slowly turned around and looked coldly at the three, who were doing their best to cover their wounds. There was no trace of sympathy in his eyes. Then, Xiao Chen sheathed his saber and stepped forward, letting the sword qi that the three sent fly at him. Xiao Chen stomped 3 times with boundless force, sending the three flying like cannonballs into the bottom of the lake. The 3 strands of sword qi struck Xiao Chen's protective quintessence, and the remnant energy entered his body. First, his skin and flesh blocked half of the sword qi. Then, the light barrier on his bones blocked the remaining half. Most of the sword qi had already entered his internal organs. It did not cause much damage to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's internal organs churned slightly, and he was fine. When Xiao Chen looked around, he saw that the raging lake had already calmed down. He could no longer see any opponent. Hua Tianhe's group of 5 only dared to poke their heads out of the lake. They looked at Xiao Chen in horror, not even daring to fly out. When did Xiao Chen become so strong? Looking at the situation, apart from Shui Lingling, perhaps only those true disciples who went to Bushan Palace can suppress him. I really can't believe it. 4 true inheritors, in addition to Yun Feiyu, are not a match for Xiao Chen even after working together. And looking at Xiao Chen's situation, it's obvious that he didn't give it his all. The battle had ended so cleanly, leaving the inner disciples at the shore in disbelief. The discussions entered Xiao Chen's ears. However, he did not feel that there was anything to be complacent about. If it were any of the 7 giants here, they would not be satisfied. Both of them were able to face the 5 of them more easily than him. The difference in strength between the 2 of them was already on a completely different level. Moreover, from the very beginning, Xiao Chen's goal had never been to become a true disciple of the Haotian sect. How vast was this world! When one looked around, there were countless geniuses and heroes. How could one narrow one's sights and be complacent? Xiao Chen glanced coldly at the heads popping out of the lake. This frightened Hua Tianhe and the others into quickly diving back down, not even daring to show their heads. Xiao Chen withdrew his gaze and ignored these arrogant trash. Then, he returned to the courtyard. High in the sky above the lake, Shui Lingling stood on a cloud. She smiled at the sky and said, "Master, you saw it clearly now, right? Lingling, I did not lie to you, right?" In the faint blue sky, the image of a pair of eyes slowly appeared behind Shui Lingling. This image was very large. The sky behind Shui Lingling was covered by this pair of eyes. Under the gaze of this pair of eyes, it seemed that no secret in the world could be hidden from them. The owner of the eyes said, "He is indeed a person with great luck. Unfortunately, this person cannot be used by the Haotian sect." Shui Lingling's gentle expression changed slightly. She said, "Why can't Xiao Chen be used by the Haotian sect? I can tell that he likes freedom." However, Master, you are a greater celestial Emperor Wu. If you speak to him personally, you will definitely be able to move him. It turned out that the owner of this pair of eyes was the sect master of the Haotian sect, the Haotian Emperor. 1,000 years ago, he successfully advanced from a lesser celestial to a greater celestial, Emperor Wu. He led the Haotian sect from a rank 8 sect to the 9 ranks of the great families. Furthermore, it was one of the best. The Haotian Emperor said in a deep voice, "That's not the reason. His background is too great. No sect in the world can bind him." Shui Lingling was confused. She said, "Master, since when did you look at the background of a disciple? Isn't it fine as long as he has great luck?" Without answering Shui Lingling's question, the Haotian Emperor's voice sounded again. He said, "Although he cannot be used by the sect, it will be beneficial for the Haotian sect to build a good relationship with him. Pass on my order. Let the great elders in the sect look after him secretly." The pair of eyes slowly disappeared. The clouds in the sky suddenly gathered together. Then, with a swoosh, they condensed into the appearance of a middle-aged man. The body formed by the clouds was no different from a real person. It looked full of flesh and blood, full of energy. It didn't feel illusory at all. Shui Lingling exclaimed in shock, "Master, you actually used a will clone? What exactly is this Xiao Chen's background?" The Haotian Emperor smiled faintly and said, "There is no need to care about Xiao Chen's background. Just treat him as an ordinary genius. I believe that those major characters in the Bushan Palace think the same. Otherwise, they would have notified me long ago." The Haotian Emperor sighed and smiled. "Since I saw him, I should go and have a chat with those old friends. Unfortunately, I just saw a starry heavens brick, and I have to give up on it." After saying that, the Haotian Emperor's clone casually tore at the air. A crack immediately appeared in the stable spatial structure of the Kunlun realm. Space was like a complete building with a hole torn in it. When one looked at the hole, one could see the lines formed by space and time, forming a complicated three-dimensional diagram flickering with fluorescent light. The Haotian Emperor's figure flashed, and he leaped into the spatial crack that he tore open. The crack slowly closed. When it reopened, it had already traveled an extremely long distance, directly arriving in the central province from the Haotian province. Then, it landed in the Bushan Palace. Shui Lingling said softly, "Junior brother Xiao Chen is really unfathomable. Master actually gave up on experiential training in the Milky Way for him and sent down his will clone." Inside the courtyard, Xiao Chen did not know that Emperor Wu had personally witnessed the earlier battle. Furthermore, that Emperor Wu seemed to have figured out his origins. At this moment, Xiao Chen was discussing with Ao Jiao where the mysterious place she mentioned was and what kind of benefits he could obtain if he went there. "Little Ao Jiao, for your sake, I rejected First Senior Sister's kind invitation. Now, you have to tell me where exactly you are going, right?" Inside the immortal spirit ring, Ao Jiao was like a hard-working gardener. Her petite face had a cheerful smile as she meticulously took care of the valuable spirit trees in the immortal spirit ring. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Ao Jiao smiled disapprovingly. "You make it sound so nice. Do you think I do not know what you are thinking in your heart? Going with me will bring you more freedom. If you go with your first senior sister, you will definitely cause a lot of trouble." This was indeed one of the things that Xiao Chen was worried about. Shui Lingling was very beautiful and dazzling. There was no lack of suitors in the Bushan Palace. Xiao Chen had received such special treatment from her. If he went there would definitely be boring trouble waiting for him. Xiao Chen picked up the cup of tea on the table and drained it in one gulp. Then, he smiled embarrassedly and said, "No matter what, you have to tell me what kind of test I have to undergo." Ao Jiao stopped what she was doing and nodded. "Indeed, I should tell you. That is where the Thunder King comprehended the will of thunder. After thousands of years, there should not have been any changes. The will of thunder." Hearing these words, Xiao Chen's eyes immediately lit up. How strong was the will of thunder! Back then, Anjuanshi's whip had shocked all the outstanding talents of the entire Tianwu domain. He had taken away the most valuable treasure in the true dragon remains, leaving everyone with no distracting thoughts. Aside from admiration, they did not have any other thoughts. Xiao Chen felt somewhat uneasy as he said, "Little Ao Jiao, don't lie to me. Are you telling me the truth?" Ao Jiao retorted angrily, "Since when did I lie to you?" Back then, the Thunder King did indeed comprehend the will of thunder there. Although I cannot guarantee that you will succeed in comprehending the will of thunder, there is at least a 50% chance of success. After Xiao Qin calmed down, he asked the most crucial question, "Haha. Don't be angry. I got a little excited. Where is that place? How long will it take to go there and back?" After Ao Jiao thought for a while, she replied, "Very, very far. It is in a dangerous land in the Fiend domain. It will take at least 6 months to go there and back from the Haotian province." Xiao Qin frowned slightly. Such a long time and all sorts of unexpected surprises would take him at least a year to prepare. He would have to prepare for this trip for at least a year before he could deal with all sorts of things that might happen in the middle of the trip. However, a year's leave was not easy to apply for. The Haotian sect had a rule that those who had not been in the sect for 2 years could not leave the sect for half a year. However, the place that Ao Jiao mentioned was a place that Xiao Chen had to go to. Otherwise, it would be very difficult for him to surpass Bai Wuxue within a year. After all, Bai Wuxue would not wait for Xiao Chen to surpass him without making any progress. If Xiao Chen wanted to succeed, he would have to put in more effort than Bai Wuxue. No matter what, Xiao Chen had to comprehend the will of thunder. 3 days later, after Xiao Chen bought all the supplies he would need along the way, he went to Shui Lingling's residence and stated his intentions. "Haha. You wanting to apply for a year's leave is not beyond my expectations." When Shui Lingling heard that, she did not feel surprised. Xiao Chen nodded and said, "Since first senior sister already expected it, I wonder if you will allow it?" "Naturally, there is no problem with agreeing to it. However, I am very curious. What kind of place is more attractive than going to Bushan Palace with me?" Shui Lingling asked curiously as she looked at Xiao Chen with her bright eyes. Xiao Chen really did not know how to explain. Ao Jiao had not mentioned that place in detail. Even if he wanted to explain, he would not be able to do so. Seeing that Xiao Chen was in a difficult position, Shui Lingling did not pursue the matter. She took out a jade pendant and said, "This is my personal identity pendant. Take it to the inner city's hall to ask for instructions. No one should be able to make things difficult for you." Xiao Chen received the fragrant jade pendant and performed a cupped fist salute in thanks. "Many thanks for First Senior Sister's help. Xiao Chen will definitely repay First Senior Sister's kindness in the future." Chapter 731. After Xiao Chen spoke, he left in a rush. When he reached the door, Shui Lingling suddenly called out to him. Xiao Chen stopped and asked, "First Senior Sister, is there something else?" Shui Lingling closed her eyes, and her gentle face sank into deep thought. After a while, she opened her eyes and said, "I will wait for you to return 1 year from now. At that time, not only will you have to face Bai Wuxue's challenge, but you should also be qualified to participate in the Sage War of the Proud Son of Heaven ranking. Finally, take care. No matter what, you have to return alive." Xiao Chen's body trembled slightly. He could feel the concern in Shui Lingling's words, so he paused for a moment. He wanted to say something, but in the end, he did not say anything and left. Starlight flickered, and the night became like a chessboard, showing many changes. In the periphery of the savage beast forest in the Haotian province, towering trees could be seen everywhere. The dense foliage blocked out the starlight, not letting it shine. Beast roars resounded in the dark forest, sometimes near and sometimes far. They sounded like the angry roars of ghosts. In this pitch-black world, it was exceptionally flustered. However, the cultivators who came to take the risk would not be frightened by the dark night. If they were timid, they would not have the guts to barge into the famous savage beast forest of the Tianwu domain. Somewhere in the forest, a bonfire burned fiercely. The flickering light from the fire gave this dark world a not-so-dazzling light. In the boundless darkness, the light of this fire could illuminate everything within 5 kilometers. Aside from newcomers to the savage beast forest, no one would be able to see it. Aside from newcomers to the savage beast forest, no one would light a bonfire at night. That was no different from suicide. The ferocious nocturnal spirit beasts would discover it immediately and launch themselves at you. However, at this moment, a kilometer away from the bonfire, pairs of green eyes stared at the white figure beside the bonfire. However, they hesitated, not daring to take any action. A few fire spirit monkeys with their stomachs cut open hung from a tree a kilometer away. The blood on their chests had yet to congeal, and a pungent smell lingered for a long time. Fire spirit monkeys were rank 8 spirit beasts. They were tyrants in the periphery, and no one dared to offend them. Seeing the corpses of the spirit beasts hanging on the tree, any spirit beast with the slightest bit of instinct would not act rashly. Next to the bonfire, there was an unfurled scroll floating in the air. The white figure half a meter in front of the scroll was staring at the person in the painting. A young girl with a petite and cute face and an extremely hot body was adding branches to the bonfire bit by bit. The flickering firelight caused her delicate face to turn red. The young girl smiled and softly counted. 1, 2, 3, 4. When he counted to 9, the white figure in front of the painting seemed to have experienced something extremely terrifying. His face was filled with terror as he retreated dozens of steps. The man and woman were none other than Xiao Qin and Ao Jiao, who had left the Haotian sect. No sect would allow a disciple to go on a long journey after being in the sect for less than a year. Firstly, they were afraid of an accident. Secondly, they were afraid that the disciple would leave after obtaining some benefit. However, with Shui Lingling's personal jade pendant, the Haotian sect's inner sect first elder had no choice but to agree to Xiao Chen's request. Yu Chenxi and Gong Yangyu had both gone on sect missions, so Xiao Chen could not say goodbye. After entrusting someone to hand the dragon mark fruit to Yu Chenxi, he left on his way alone. The fastest way to the Fiend domain from the Haotian province was to head west through the savage beast forest. After passing the most remote Hunluo province of the Tianwu domain, one would arrive at the Fiend domain. When Ao Jiao saw Xiao Chen take a few steps back, she smiled and said, "Not bad. This time, you lasted for 9 seconds. Soon, you will be able to break through 10 seconds." Xiao Chen smiled bitterly. He stretched out his hand and rolled up the painting of the Qing Emperor drawing the saber. He sighed and said, "I can already discover 32 directions to draw the saber." However, his starting stance seems to be ever-changing. There is always a direction that you cannot predict. After entering the savage forest, Xiao Chen had nothing to do. In the end, he could not resist the temptation of the painting of the Qing Emperor drawing the saber, so he unfurled the painting again. In reality, any true bladesman would be like Xiao Chen. After seeing a saber technique that defied their common sense, no matter how strange it was, they would try to figure out what it was. Slowly, Xiao Chen discovered that he could block the saber of the person in the painting. However, he had to guess where he would draw the saber first. Otherwise, he would still die in one strike. Even though Xiao Chen had experienced this many times before, he still had not gotten used to the feeling of approaching death. It was unbearable. However, Xiao Chen had benefited a lot from this kind of suicidal behavior. His understanding of drawing the saber was much stronger than before. The process of drawing the saber only took an instant. However, in that instant, as the body moved or the angle at which the saber was held changed, the trajectory of the saber would immediately become very different. The trajectory of Xiao Chen's saber immediately became very different. Even the surrounding environment changed. Even if the trajectory of the saber was the same, the situation would change. If one advanced to a higher realm and infused their state of mind into drawing the saber, there would be new changes. An even higher realm would be one with the world. The instant the saber was drawn, it would contain the comprehension of the world, the control of the heavenly Tao. At that point, the saber would no longer be a saber. Xiao Chen was still far from such a realm. He was still at the most basic stage. How to control the angle and the environment to make different changes. As far as Xiao Chen knew, there was no one in the younger generation of the Tianwu domain who had such a deep understanding of drawing the saber. If Xiao Chen could improve it further, it might become his new killing move. As Xiao Chen held the painting, he revealed a contemplative gaze. He muttered, "I keep feeling that this painting is not that simple. There should be an even greater secret hidden in it." Ao Jiao raised her eyelids slightly and said, "What is so special about it? I have seen many such treasures. They are just projections of one's comprehension of the martial technique onto a piece of paper. Many of the martial techniques that Emperor Wu passed on to the later generations are like this. The jade strip containing the dragon tone absolute art of yours has a similar effect. It is just that this drawing the saber is harder to comprehend." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and placed the painting in his universe ring. He said, "Perhaps. However, I have a feeling that if I can grasp all the positions of the saber, the answer will be obvious." Ao Jiao's lips curled up slightly. Clearly, she did not believe that there was any big secret. Xiao Chen swept his gaze around. When he saw the many pairs of green eyes, he said, "Get up, I have to get to work." Xiao Chen casually waved his hand and extinguished the bonfire in front of him. Then, he turned into a beam of dim light and returned to the immortal spirit ring. The surrounding light vanished, and night completely engulfed Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen stretched his arms and legs. After he locked onto his prey, he quickly ran and leaped across the ground. So. The darkness of the night did not hinder Xiao Chen's vision at all. A white figure leaped about in the forest like a nimble cheetah, leaping over obstacle after obstacle. Xiao Chen crossed a kilometer in an instant. A spirit beast covered in snow-white fur and looking like a stout tiger appeared before Xiao Chen. This was one of the more powerful rank 7 spirit beasts, the ice tiger. However, it did not pose any challenge to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen had another purpose in making it his prey. Xiao Chen's strong aura was withdrawn in his body, not leaking it out, no different from an ordinary person. When the ice tiger saw Xiao Chen, its first impression was that he was somewhat strange. However, it was not as intelligent as humans. When the ice tiger no longer sensed any danger, it finally could not resist moving forward. The surging energy from its feet pounded the ground rhythmically. Dong, dong, dong. The ice tiger gave off ear-splitting sounds that traveled far into the darkness before slowly fading away. Seeing the ice tiger approach, Xiao Chen smiled faintly. He did not show any intention of moving. However, the purple clouds in Xiao Chen's dantian scattered and turned into vast quintessence, surging through his meridians like a gushing river. The path of the quintessence's flow was very strange. It only made small cycles in the 3 meridians in his chest. Eventually, the quintessence flowed faster and faster, spinning somewhat frantically. This spurred Xiao Chen's blood, bones, skin, and muscles to give off subtle clanging sounds. Dang, dang, dang. The sounds gathered together like a low and furious dragon roar. As the quintessence spun in Xiao Chen's chest, it did its best to find an outlet to release it. However, it could not go out. It could only spin, 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 and spin. That low dragon roar became increasingly urgent. The accumulated energy made Xiao Chen feel like his chest would explode at any moment. If Xiao Chen looked into his body at this moment, he would discover that the quintessence flowing in his chest had turned into an azure dragon image. The dragon image turned solid. As the low dragon roar became more urgent, the dragon image turned more solid. It was like all the sound gathered in this azure dragon image's quintessence. The swelling feeling in Xiao Chen's chest had already reached the critical point. If this energy could not be vented, it would explode Xiao Chen to death. The ice tiger's huge figure was only 5 meters away from Xiao Chen. It swung its claws at Xiao Chen. If Xiao Chen did not do anything, no matter how hard his head was, this attack from the ice tiger would turn him into meat paste. Break! Xiao Chen, who had not moved all this while, finally moved. However, he did not move his feet or his hand. Instead, he roared at the top of his lungs. The dragon-shaped quintessence that had been waiting in Xiao Chen's body for a long time, itching to charge out immediately, shot out with a xiao sound. The dragon-shaped quintessence spun around and turned into a whirlpool of formless sound waves that quickly spread out from Xiao Chen's throat. A loud sound rang out together with this roar. This sound was even more intense than thunder. Dragon might spread out as if it could shatter mountains and rivers for 5,000 kilometers around. Blood leaked out of the ice tiger's ears, nose, and mouth 5 meters in front. Then, it fell over powerlessly. In the next moment, a strong wind blew, and all the towering trees within 500 meters exploded from the tree trunk. Along with the soil, the trees splashed out. The sky was filled with broken tree trunks, dancing in the air. The ice tiger on the ground was not dead yet. Its limbs twitched continuously. Blood flowed out of the corner of its mouth, and its eyes were wide open. Xiao Chen bent over and placed his right hand on the ice tiger's back. Then, he sent out a strand of spiritual sense to check carefully. After a while, Xiao Chen revealed a dissatisfied expression. The ice tiger's internal organs did not shatter, only a crack appeared. At such a close distance, Xiao Chen executed the dragon tone art and still could not kill a rank 7 spirit beast instantly. It had to be said that there were many areas that Xiao Chen needed to strengthen. Chapter 732. Xiao Chen looked around and measured the distance. Then, he said softly, 500 meters. This is much larger than a few days ago. Continue working hard. First, expand the range to 1 kilometer. Then, practice the angle of the sound wave. As for how to bring out the dragon might in the sound wave, Xiao Chen still needed to practice continuously. Leaping up, Xiao Chen vanished into the night, continuing his search for his next prey. The spirit beasts in the periphery of the savage beast forest were not very strong. The strongest were rank 8 spirit beasts. Xiao Chen could move about without fear here, cultivating the dragon tone art without any fear. Of course, if he was unlucky, he might run into a strong spirit beast from the inner area or other adventuring cultivators. That would be a different story. The mysterious roar resounded in the quiet night again, disturbing the spirit beasts and the nocturnal cultivators. That sound was like the roar of a true dragon, as startling as a clap of thunder. Several spirit beasts fled, and the periphery of the savage beast forest fell into chaos. Only when the sky brightened did the sound vanish. The chaotic situation slowly calmed down. However, several cultivators had already made up their minds not to come to the savage beast forest for the time being. Xiao Chen did not know that he had caused such a huge commotion. He sat cross-legged on a thick tree trunk, circulating his energy to recover his exhausted quintessence. Xiao Chen's thoughts were not idle either. He carefully comprehended the results of last night's cultivation. When a beam of sunlight pierced through the dense foliage and landed on Xiao Chen, he slowly opened his eyes. A purple light flickered in the depths of his eyes. Xiao Chen stood up and spat out a mouthful of turbid qi. He felt refreshed, the fatigue from the previous night swept away. Perhaps I have been too superficial. Since the dragon tone art specifically counters mental energy martial techniques, the intimidation of the sound wave should not be my main focus. Last night, Xiao Chen tested it many times and discovered that no matter how much quintessence he exhausted, it was difficult to increase the dragon tone art's offensive power. The moment Xiao Chen thought of this, It was like a beam of light suddenly lit up in his mind. Several of his thoughts connected. That's right, the dragon tone art should use quintessential essence as a supplement and mental energy as the main. The true dragon's voice had to enter the other party's sea of consciousness to achieve its greatest might. Since it countered mental energy martial techniques, how could it rely on quintessence? It had to bring along mental energy as well. The cultivation of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation caused Xiao Chen's mental energy to be much higher than that of an ordinary person. If it was as Xiao Chen thought, he would not be able to break through the Heavenly Thunder Divine Incantation. In his hands, the dragon tone art would definitely be able to display a might that far surpassed that of his predecessors. Thinking of this, Xiao Chen jumped down from the tree. Soon, he found an ordinary rank 7 lightning ox and circulated the dragon tone art. At the same time, the mental energy in his sea of consciousness began to boil. Xiao Chen squinted his eyes and let out a furious roar, uttering the voice of a true dragon. The mental energy in his sea of consciousness was reduced by 30% in an instant. The dragon's might in the sound wave rose infinitely in an instant, as if there was a real blue dragon roaring. Buzz! The lightning ox charging at Xiao Chen felt a jolt in its mind, as if it had been struck by lightning. Then it fell over. Xiao Chen quickly leaped over and arrived before the lightning ox. When he looked carefully, he discovered that the lightning ox's life force was still strong. However, its eyes were lifeless and its body trembled. For now, it did not have any combat prowess waiting to be slaughtered. Xiao Chen's face lit up in joy. He smiled and said, "Indeed, it is like that. When comparing spirit beasts to cultivators, the greatest advantage is their physical bodies. In the future, when I meet strong spirit beasts, I will have an additional means to protect myself. However, I wonder how effective it will be on cultivators." When cultivators advanced to martial monarch, they would open their sea of consciousness. Their mental energy was not something that spirit beasts could compare to. It would be difficult to achieve such an effect on cultivators. Seeing that the lightning ox seemed to have recovered, Xiao Chen circulated his quintessence and sent out a strand of purple saber qi, chopping off its head. After sorting out his emotions, Xiao Chen continued on his way. His destination was clear. He headed west. Just like that, Xiao Chen traveled during the day and cultivated the dragon tone art at night. Occasionally, he executed the blue dragon drawing the saber painting, comprehending the dragon's gate Qing emperors drawing the saber painting. As the days went by, Xiao Chen became increasingly familiar with the dragon tone art. He also discovered 72 different directions for the Qing emperors drawing the saber. The more Xiao Chen delved into that mysterious painting, the more astonished he felt. No matter how he thought about it, there would always be an unexpected saber strike that would kill him. 1 month later, Xiao Chen calculated the distance he had traveled. He had already left several large provinces behind. As for himself, he was already deep in the inner area of the savage beast forest. The weakest spirit beasts in the inner area were peak rank 8, comparable to late-stage superior grade martial monarch. Occasionally, Xiao Chen would run into a few rank 9 spirit beasts. When he ran into such spirit beasts, Xiao Chen's dragon tone art would not be very effective. He could only stay far away to avoid trouble. Xiao Chen moved cautiously along the way. Fortunately, Xiao Chen was safe and sound. In reality, as long as he did not run into the rare rank 10 spirit beasts, Xiao Chen would be able to leave easily. After all, no matter how powerful a rank 9 spirit beast was, it could not be stronger than Bai Wuxue. Now, even Bai Wuxue could not stop Xiao Chen, much less a rank 9 spirit beast. After entering the inner area, the number of cultivators that Xiao Chen could run into decreased. However, when he occasionally ran into cultivators who were adventuring, he would be on high alert. The cultivators who dared to venture into the inner area could not be underestimated. Furthermore, the human heart was sinister. Human cultivators were far more terrifying than spirit beasts. Fortunately, Xiao Chen was not weak. Others would not be able to see through him. Furthermore, he did not have any treasures on him. So, he did not have to fight with human cultivators. On this particular day, as Xiao Chen was walking on a small path in the forest, he suddenly heard panicked footsteps in front of him. Along with the footsteps were ragged breathing. When Xiao Chen heard the sounds, he guessed that someone was being chased. Furthermore, the situation did not look good. Not wanting to cause any trouble, Xiao Chen pushed off the ground and hid behind a towering tree. Indeed, as Xiao Chen expected, a young man covered in wounds appeared before him. His robes were stained with blood, and he held a sword in his hand. This young swordsman seemed to be an early-stage, inferior-grade martial monarch. Xiao Chen could not understand how someone with such strength could appear in the inner area of the savage beast forest. This was no different from suicide. Behind this young swordsman were 5 black-clothed swordsmen with the same emblem on their chests. They chased him closely, not letting him go. Pu Si. The young swordsman was too severely injured. When he saw his pursuers getting closer, he panicked and tripped over a tree branch, falling to the ground. The 5 black-clothed swordsmen laughed maniacally. Their figures flashed, and they surrounded the young swordsman in an instant. Sidu Feng, do you think that we will not dare to chase you after you ran into the inner area of the savage beast forest? The leader of the 5 black-clothed swordsmen said coldly. The young swordsman's eyes were filled with horror. He quickly climbed to his feet, and his right hand, which held his sword, trembled. Under such circumstances, the young swordsman knew that he would lose his life here. It would be difficult for him to survive. You are too much. I'll fight it out with you. Knowing that he would not be able to escape death, the fear in the young swordsman's eyes vanished. He ferociously charged over, prepared to die, and started fighting with the leader of the swordsmen. Electric light leaped around Situ Feng's sword. As the sword light danced, thunder roared faintly. The combination of the state of the sword technique was rather exquisite. Perhaps the explosive power of Sidu Feng's death was too scary, but the 5 black-clothed swordsmen did not want to get injured by a dying person. The 5 black-clothed swordsmen had mocking gazes as they slowly drained Sidu Feng's final bit of quintessence. Xiao Chen only took one look and could not be bothered to continue watching. Both sides were only inferior-grade martial monarchs. Such a battle could not interest Xiao Chen at all. Furthermore, Xiao Chen was not so compassionate as to save a stranger when he did not know the situation. Xiao Chen, don't leave yet. Save that swordsman first. Just as Xiao Chen raised his foot, Ao Jiao's voice rang out in the immortal spirit ring. Xiao Chen had no choice but to change his mind. Situ Feng was already severely injured. How could his final burst of power last? Soon, before the mocking gazes of the 5 black-clothed swordsmen, Situ Feng's aura plummeted. Situ Feng's legs trembled, and the electric light on his sword disappeared. With one look, it was clear that his quintessence was completely drained. "Kill him!" the leading black-clothed swordsman said to the 4 behind him with a cold smile. 4 strands of sword light containing boundless killing chi headed for Situ Feng's body coldly, trying to chop him into 4 pieces. Situ Feng closed his eyes in despair. His heart was filled with regret. If he had not been greedy, he would not have ended up in such a state. Without his life, glory, splendor, wealth, and rank would be useless. Bang! 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 Fist winds howled, and 4 miserable cries rang out. Situ Feng opened his eyes and was startled to see what happened. The 4 black-clothed swordsmen flying at him all vomited a large mouthful of blood and went flying back. Their faces contorted in incredible pain. At some point in time, a white-robed cultivator had appeared before Situ Feng, staring coldly at him. The leading black-clothed swordsman revealed a startled expression. As he looked at Xiao Chen, he felt somewhat unfathomable. Xiao Chen's cultivation was not much higher than his. However, when Xiao Chen attacked, he injured 4 inferior-grade martial monarchs, rendering them completely defenseless. The black-clothed swordsman tried to recall all the experts in Hunluo province. However, he could not find a match for this person. He could not help but feel suspicious. Who are you? Why are you obstructing our Azure Peak City's Lu clan? The black-clothed swordsman asked sullenly. Xiao Chen calmly lowered his hands and looked up at the other party. He said, "Who I am is none of your concern. You cannot kill this person now." Xiao Chen felt somewhat surprised. He had used a lightning-quick move to force the other party to retreat. After all, this place was close to Hunluo province's territory. If he offended a large faction, it would not be good to invite trouble for himself. However, that black-clothed swordsman did not retreat. Instead, he reported his clan. Could it be that the nearby Lu clan was a large faction? The black-clothed swordsman thought quickly. Xiao Chen defeated 4 inferior-grade martial monarchs in an instant. He was not a match for Xiao Chen. However, the first young master was rushing over with his men. If the black-clothed swordsman could delay this person, given the first young master's strength, he would definitely be able to block this person. Furthermore, Situ Feng knew the Lu clan's great secret. He had to die. Otherwise, there would be endless trouble in the future. Chapter 733. After the black-clad swordsman made up his mind, he wanted to charge forward and delay Xiao Chen. However, at this moment, a saber suddenly appeared in Xiao Chen's left hand. He placed his right hand on the saber and leaned forward slightly. In an instant, a boundless killing intent surged out. The black-clad swordsman felt like there were many eyes in the air, looking at him coldly and expressionlessly. This startled the black-clad swordsman. He quickly stopped, not daring to charge forward. Damn it! What's going on? It is clearly just a starting stance. Why am I so afraid? The black-clad swordsman's eyes were filled with horror. He could not help but want to retreat. Xiao! A saber light flashed, and the black-clad swordsman quickly swung his sword to block. However, he missed. Xiao Chen appeared at the black-clad swordsman's side, and blood spurted out. Xiao Chen had chopped off the black-clad swordsman's left arm. The black-clad swordsman cried out in pain. His complexion was as pale as paper as he retreated continuously. The 4 black-clad swordsmen lying on the ground felt confused. They had seen everything clearly. Xiao Chen's saber strike looked very ordinary. There was nothing special about it. Why did Big Brother not block it? This was the first time Xiao Chen used the starting stance of Qing Emperor drawing the saber in actual combat. The effect was pretty good. Right now, the instant Xiao Chen drew his saber, he could move in 16 different directions. Against an opponent 1 grade lower, he could defeat them in an instant. Situ Feng's eyes widened in disbelief as he looked at the scene before him. An early-stage medial-grade martial monarch actually lost so easily. Who exactly is this person before me? I have never heard of such a powerful white-robed bladesman in Clear Wind City. No, Hunluo province. Let's go. Before Situ Feng could recover from his shock, he felt his body lighten. Then, he was carried into the air by Xiao Chen. The wind blew by Situ Feng's ears. As they flew, Situ Feng's mind was filled with questions, but he could not voice them. After flying for a long time, Xiao Chen slowly landed. Situ Feng stood firmly and immediately said, "Many thanks, friend, for saving my life. Would you tell me your great name?" After narrowly escaping death, Situ Feng could not help the joy in his eyes. When Xiao Chen interacted with strangers, he always kept his guard up. He did not say much and directly asked Ao Jiao's question from the Immortal Spirit Ring, "Where did you learn your sword techniques?" Situ Feng was slightly stunned. After he reacted, he said, "I learned my sword techniques from the Eternal Heavenly Sword School. I was once an outer sect disciple there. After failing to become an inner sect disciple several times, I returned to my clan in Clear Wind City." What exactly are the origins of this person's sword techniques? You only took one look and you want me to save him? Xiao Chen asked out of curiosity. Ao Jiao replied softly, "That is the Thunder Light Fleeing Shadows sword that the Thunder King comprehended himself when he was young. He has never taught it to anyone. I'm just curious as to how he learned it." Naturally, Situ Feng could not hear the conversation between the two. He bandaged his wounds and looked at Xiao Chen. "Friend, you probably offended the Lu clan by saving me. How about returning to the Situ clan with me?" "Is the Lu clan very strong?" Xiao Chen asked interestedly. Situ Feng had forgotten that Xiao Chen was an outsider, so he told him about this place in detail. This savage beast forest was already very close to Hunluo province. The nearest city was Clear Wind City, a medium-sized city in Hunluo province. There were two major factions in the city. One was the Lu clan, and the other was their Situ clan. The two clans were like fire and water, fighting each other for many years. The clan heads of the two clans were half-sages. Although they had been fighting each other for many years, their strengths were equal. Neither could do anything to the other. Since the clan head was only a half-sage, Xiao Chen relaxed. He rejected, "There is no need. I'll send you to the periphery of the forest and leave on my own." Situ Feng exclaimed in shock. "Their clan head is currently in this savage beast forest. If they discover you, you will not be able to escape death." In Situ Feng's opinion, although Xiao Chen was strong, he was only a late-stage superior-grade martial monarch at best. If a peak late-stage superior-grade martial monarch came, things would not be good. If Xiao Chen ran into a half-sage, there would be no chance of survival. He could only rely on the Situ clan to survive. Xiao Chen shook his head and rejected this person's invitation. This person had not said why the Lu clan was after him. Clearly, he did not trust Xiao Chen. At this moment, Situ Feng was clearly trying to rope Xiao Chen in. He wanted to use Xiao Chen and the Lu clan to tie him to the Situ clan's war chariot. Seeing that Xiao Chen had rejected his invitations several times, Situ Feng's attitude turned cold, and he did not say anything more. "We've arrived. Take care of yourself." After leaving the inner area of the savage beast forest, Xiao Chen looked around. After he discovered that there was no danger, he planned to leave. Situ Feng looked around and thought for a moment. He said, "Friend, there is a stronghold of my Situ clan not far from here. How about you send me there? At that time, our clan head will reward you greatly. At this moment, I have not recovered from my injuries. Any spirit beast would be able to take my life immediately. I will be completely safe once I reach the stronghold." Situ Feng had already sent a hummingbird to the Situ clan about what he discovered. The clan head would definitely be alerted and bring all the experts over. At that time, when the Situ clan fought with the Lu clan, an additional person would increase their chances of victory. With Xiao Chen's strength, he was definitely worth roping in. If Situ Feng could accomplish this, in addition to his earlier contributions, the clan head would reward him greatly. Xiao Chen thought for a while before saying, "It doesn't matter. You lead the way. I don't want to walk too much." Situ Feng rejoiced in his heart. He quickly led the way to the Situ clan's stronghold. The two of them moved quickly in the dense forest. Occasionally, spirit beasts would appear. Xiao Chen released his aura and scared them away. He did not delay at all. Soon, a heavily guarded stronghold appeared before the two of them. Two Situ clan cultivators descended from the treetop. Situ Feng revealed a smile and quickly went forward. He whispered a few words to them, and the two cultivators gave Xiao Chen a deep look before returning to the stronghold. When Xiao Chen saw this, he did not want to waste any more time. He said, "Goodbye, you are already completely safe. Friend, don't be in such a rush to leave." Seeing that Xiao Chen still wanted to leave, Situ Feng grabbed him by the wrist. He said somewhat anxiously, "Clan head, they will be out soon. There will be a great gift for you later." Xiao Chen frowned slightly. His body moved slightly, and he shook off Situ Feng's grip. "Ha ha! This friend is the young hero who killed the Lu clan cultivators. Carefree laughter resounded. The many cultivators at the stronghold's entrance clustered around a dignified, gray-robed old man as he walked quickly towards Xiao Qin. Sidu Feng's face lit up with joy. He quickly went forward and whispered a few words into the gray-robed old man's ear. The gray-robed old man looked at Xiao Qin with an increasingly grave expression. He waved his hand, indicating for Sidu Feng to step back. A faint smile appeared on his aged face. This brother looks unfamiliar. You must be from somewhere else. Speak, what reward do you want? Since you saved my Situ clan's people, I, Situ Lei, will definitely not mistreat you. The gray-robed old man stepped forward and spoke to Xiao Qin. His tone was very imposing. However, Xiao Qin noticed that the Situ clan experts behind the gray-robed old man had already spread out, forming a fan shape. The formation they stood in was very ingenious. As long as Xiao Qin made any strange movements, this group of people would immediately seal off Xiao Qin's path of retreat and surround and kill him. Xiao Qin's expression did not change. He held the lunar shadow saber in his left hand and casually took a step forward. His entire body formed a strange stance. Instantly, all the cultivators who had spread out in a fan-shaped formation felt that Xiao Qin was staring at them. Clearly, there was only one person and one pair of eyes. However, the stance he formed was very strange. It was like he could instantly draw his saber and chop down everyone. Old Sir is right. I am indeed from somewhere else. However, I was just passing by this place. Saving people is just something I did in passing. There is no need for any reward. Xiao Qin's expression did not change at all. When facing this half-sage Sidu Lei, he did not show any fear at all. A boundless light flashed in the depths of Sidu Lei's aged eyes. He wanted to see through this white-robed bladesman before him. This brat is clearly only a peak medial grade martial sage. Why is he not showing any fear before this old man? What trump card does he have for him to be so confident? Sidu Lei did not show any dissatisfaction on his face. He smiled and said, "Young hero is of noble character and unquestionable integrity. This old man admires you. Since there is no need for any reward, let's have a drink in the fort. No matter what, we should have a good chat." A wily old fox was indeed a wily old fox. Sidu Feng's careless and crude performance was laughable when compared to the unfathomable Sidu Lei. Xiao Qin performed a cupped fist salute and said, "There is no need. I am in a rush, so I will take my leave first." When Sidu Lei heard this, his expression did not change. He smiled faintly and said, "Take care. I will not send you off." However, Sidu Lei made a gesture with his hand behind his back. That was the Situ clan's order to surround and kill Xiao Qin. Once the gesture was completed, it would be the order. The Situ clan cultivators would mercilessly attack Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin's spiritual sense clearly captured the movements of this person behind his back. Without waiting for Sidu Lei's gesture, Xiao Qin took the initiative to make his move. As Xiao Qin lowered his cupped hands, he placed his right hand on his saber's hilt. The Qing Emperor's drawing the saber was ready. The cultivators who had spread out in a fan shape all felt a strand of saber light flying at them. 1. The 10-odd people quickly drew their weapons and dodged to the left and right. The originally perfect encirclement immediately turned chaotic. Xiao Qin released his hand and withdrew his killing chi. His lips curled up as he smiled and said, "I'm sorry, old sir. I was just joking. Don't take it seriously. I think the hand behind old sir's back was also a joke, right?" Sidu Lei had only completed half of the gesture behind his back. Before he could complete it, something unexpected happened. Sidu Lei could not help but feel startled. However, his expression did not change. Sidu Lei quickly withdrew his hand and extended it to Xiao Qin. As if nothing had happened, he laughed loudly and said, "Indeed, heroes come from the youth. Little brother's courage is admirable." Xiao Qin took 2 steps back and calmly turned around. Then, he left under the unfriendly gazes of the group of superior-grade martial monarchs. After moving a kilometer away, Shao Chen revealed an expression of luck on his calm face. That had been very dangerous earlier. 1 half-sage, 10-odd superior-grade martial monarchs, and more than 100 medial-grade and inferior-grade martial monarchs. If Shao Chen had really attacked, he would not have been able to leave without paying a heavy price. Chapter 734. However, it was still fine. Sidu Lei feared Shao Chen's strength and did not dare to take risks, fearing that he would suffer too many losses. The people of the Sidu clan are all bad people. You saved that person, yet they still treat you like this, Ao Jiao said angrily from the immortal spirit ring. Shao Chen entered deep thought. Then, he said, logically speaking, they do not know that I have a treasure on me and that I am just passing by. Not only do I not have any grudges with them, but they also owe me a favor. They should not have reacted like that. Ao Jiao's eyes wandered, and she revealed an expression of understanding on her delicate face. She said, "You mean to say that there is something fishy about this?" Shao Chen leaped onto a tree branch beside him and silently extended his spiritual sense back. He nodded and said, "There is definitely something strange about this. I want to see what exactly is going on." At the gates of the stronghold, Situ Feng felt surprised. He asked, "Clan head, why are we just letting him go? This person is very strong and cannot be of use to us. He will be a source of trouble and disrupt our plans." At this moment, Sidu Lei's expression had already turned completely sullen, looking extremely terrifying. He looked coldly at the surrounding people and said, "So what if we do not let him go? The encirclement is already broken. It will be too difficult to keep him here. We might as well let him go, lest we gain another enemy. I do not want anything unexpected to happen while we are fighting for the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit." When Sidu Feng heard this, he was greatly startled. Is that white-robed bladesman really that horrifying? Even the clan head said that it would be difficult to keep him here. However, it is not safe to just let him go. This person's origins are unknown. It is hard to say that he is not here for the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit, an old man beside Sidu Feng said worriedly. An old man said worriedly. This old man had a profound cultivation, and he was only a step away from the half-saint realm. He was the great elder of the Situ clan. Sidu Lei looked into the distance and said coldly, "Naturally, we have to be on guard. Find 2 people who are good at tracking and have them follow him from afar. See if he is really just passing by. If he is not, we have to spend a lot of effort to kill him. The Lu clan's people are already having a headache. I will not allow anyone to fish in troubled waters." The voice was bone-chilling and emotionless, devoid of any warmth. Shao Chen, who was on the tree branch, withdrew his spiritual sense and suddenly understood. He muttered, "So that is how it is." The white nascent fruit had similar effects to the earth essence fruit. It could increase a cultivator's cultivation without any side effects. However, normally the peak white nascent fruit could only live for 500 years. The 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit was extremely rare. It would not be an exaggeration to call it a mutated fruit. Its effects could even tempt martial sages. If the clan obtained it and gave it to the Sidu clan to break through to half-sage, the martial sage Shao would not be. 1 half-sage was equivalent to 50 superior-grade martial monarchs. In that case, the balance between the Sidu clan and the Lu clan of Azure Peak City would be broken. No matter who, the Tian, the other clan would. The clan would be, and would be, and would. Chen Lei would be Chen. 2-2. Hey Trash Master, you can't be thinking of something, right? You have to think clearly. With the strength of the 2 families added together, it's impossible for us to win. Chen Yu Chen Chen to say. Chen Chen A. Chen Chen Chen. When Ao Jiao saw that Shao Chen was tempted, she reminded him. Shao Chen said softly, "I do have such intentions. To break through to superior grade martial monarch, I would need at least 200 medial-grade spirit-gathering pearls. That is an astronomical sum. This 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit is practically made for me. Ao Jiao continued to advise, however, it is too difficult to snatch food from the tiger's mouth from two half-sages. Furthermore, they have a group of martial monarch experts behind them. Xiao Qin leaped down from the tree branch and said calmly, I know my limits. There are strong and weak half-sages. Clearly, these two are much weaker than Bai Wuxue and the others. The most important thing is that these two are not united. Given that, I have a good chance. Shua, shua. Soft footsteps resounded. Xiao Chen scanned the area with his spiritual sense and saw two black-clad men sneaking around. They stuck to a tree 500 meters away, watching him carefully. The two black-clad men withdrew their auras. They were like a rock, showing no signs of life force as they stuck to the tree. Their concealment skills were very impressive. Unfortunately, Xiao Chen's spiritual sense was much stronger than the mental energy that regular cultivators use to sense. At such a close distance, Xiao Chen could not keep any secrets from them. After withdrawing his spiritual sense, Xiao Chen continued walking forward, as if nothing had happened. There did not seem to be anything wrong with him. However, a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. The stronghold of Azure Peak City's Lu clan in the Savage Beast Forest was also a heavily guarded mountain stronghold with many experts. There were many wooden houses in the mountain stronghold. The guards were stationed every 5 steps and 10 steps. Everyone had a tense expression on their faces. The Lu clan's upper echelon gathered in one of the wooden houses, anxiously discussing countermeasures. The rectangular mahogany table was filled with the elders of the Lu clan. Behind the tables and chairs stood a crowd of cultivators. For the sake of the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit, the Lu clan sent out all its elites. Even the weakest Lu clan disciple here was a medial-grade martial monarch. Seated at the top of the mahogany table was an old man dressed in a black brocade robe. He had a dignified expression on his face. He was the Lu clan's patriarch, Lu Chen. Beside him stood a young man. This was Lu En's eldest son, Lu En's. He was already a peak superior grade martial monarch. If Lu En's obtained the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit, he would use it to break through to half-sage. Patriarch, this subordinate is incompetent and allowed Sidu Feng to escape in the end. The black-clothed swordsman, who only had his right arm left, knelt on the ground, not daring to get up. Lu Chen said expressionlessly, Get up. It does not matter whether you catch him or not. After he discovered our goal, he immediately used a hummingbird to send the news to that old man, Sidu Lei. An old man on his right said helplessly, Our scouts have reported. Sidu Lei has already led all the experts of the clan to the gathering point in the Savage Beast Forest. It looks like it will be even more difficult to pick the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit this time. It was impossible for there to be no spirit beasts guarding the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit. When it fully ripened, it might even attract spirit beasts from far away. Trying to obtain the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit from among these spirit beasts was already difficult enough. Now, with the addition of the Sidu clan, the number of variables had increased significantly. Lu Chen could not help but worry. A ferocious light appeared in Lu Chen's eyes. No one dared to look at him directly. He said coldly, There can only be one clan in Azure Peak City. This old man has had enough of that old man, Sidu Lei. Since he dares to come, this is a good opportunity to destroy him. A strange light appeared in Lu En's eyes. He said, Father, a mysterious white-robed bladesman saved Situ Feng. That white-robed bladesman easily injured 5 martial monarchs. We have to guard against him. Hatred flashed in the eyes of the one-armed black-clothed swordsman. He said, Indeed, clan head, that person has a strange background and is very strong. If the Situ clan supports the Situ clan when the white nascent fruit ripens, it will be very disadvantageous for us. The Situ clan and the Lu clan were evenly matched. If one side received help, the balance would be broken. This person was not lying. Bring some people to investigate. If it is just a passing cultivator, then forget about it. This is a critical period. Do not complicate matters, Lu Chen said after thinking for a while. The one-armed black-clothed swordsman said anxiously, "Clan head, he injured a cultivator of my Lu clan and chopped off one of my arms. How can we just let this go?" Lu Chen's gaze turned cold as he looked at the one-armed black-clothed swordsman. He said in a frosty voice, "You piece of trash. Not only did you let someone leak the news, but you even dare to question my decision?" The one-armed black-clothed swordsman's heart skipped a beat. When he felt Lu Chen's killing chi, his body trembled, and he did not dare to say anything more. As dusk approached, Xiao Chen found an empty space and started a fire. Then, he started to roast some spirit beast meat that he had hunted. The two scouts of the Sidhu clan silently hid in a tree 500 meters away. They withdrew their auras and only used their peripheral vision to observe Xiao Chen. They were very careful and cautious, afraid of attracting Xiao Chen's attention. Speaking of which, Ao Jiao, what is the relationship between that eternal heavenly sword school and the Thunder King? Why does he have the Thunder Light Fleeing Shadows sword? If Sidhu Feng had not used this sword technique, Xiao Chen would have left long ago. It would be a lie to say that he was not curious. Ao Jiao, who was in the Immortal Spirit Ring, felt very suspicious as well. Her delicate face filled with confusion. She said softly, "I don't know. I don't recall the Thunder King establishing his own sect." Crunch! Crunch! The golden beef of the golden savage ox, which had been picked up by a tree branch, gave off crunching sounds as the flames roasted it. The surface of the beef cracked open, and golden oil flowed out. The aroma of the beef whetted one's appetite. Xiao Chen twirled the tree branch in a practiced manner. As he looked at the golden beef, he asked, since he did not establish a sect, did the Thunder King leave behind any secret manuals? Ao Jiao replied without hesitation. He did leave behind secret manuals. However, I am sure that no one else obtained them. There is no possibility of them leaking out. Then, did he have any disciples? If he did, it would not be surprising if they leaked out, Xiao Chen continued asking. Ao Jiao shook her head and said, Sang Mu has always been a loner. He did not even have many friends. How could he have a disciple? There were no secret manuals or inheritors. However, 2,000 years later, when Ao Jiao came to the Kunlun realm again, she saw the Thunder King's Thunder Light Fleeing Shadows sword. This was indeed strange. The golden beef was already cooked. Xiao Chen tore off a piece of beef and enjoyed the delicacy. Then, he took out a flask of wine from the universe ring and drank it. Xiao Chen sat by the bonfire and ate large chunks of meat, feeling very carefree. After the meat and wine were done, Xiao Chen stood up and stretched his body. Then, he held the lunar shadow saber in his hand and said softly, Actually, we will know the truth after we make a trip to the Eternal Heavenly Sword School. Of course, that is on the premise that I can survive and obtain the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit. Right after Xiao Chen spoke, he quickly turned around and instantly drew the lunar shadow saber. The resplendent saber light instantly lit up the dark forest. 500 meters away, the tree hiding the two Sidhu clan cultivators exploded. The two Sidhu clan cultivators were completely exposed to Xiao Chen. Let's go. This person discovered us long ago. The two Sidhu clan cultivators were greatly startled. Without saying anything else, they split up and ran. Xiao Chen looked at the Sidhu clan cultivator on the left and smiled faintly. He pushed off the ground, and an azure dragon image appeared under his feet, carrying him into the air. The two scouts were good at hiding and tracking. Their cultivations were not high. They were only early-stage inferior-grade martial monarchs. How could they be a match for Xiao Chen? Chapter 735. Even if Xiao Chen used only half his strength, he could easily kill two people. The dragon image moved up and down, and Xiao Chen instantly caught up to that person. Xiao Chen did not waste any words. He infused his vast lightning-attributed quintessence into his saber and killed that person in one strike. The blood on the saber exploded into a red mist by the electric light. When it spread out, a red light spread out. Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes and peered through the red light. Then, he started to chase after the remaining person. When that person heard his companion's miserable scream, he paled in fright. He died in one exchange. Who exactly was the person the clan head told them to follow? Blue Dragon Tail Whip. A strong wind blew, and Xiao Chen's body moved in an arc. He passed by many towering trees, bringing with him a strong gust of wind. With a "so" sound, he suddenly appeared in front of that person. That person quickly ran away. Xiao Chen's casual kick carried 500 tons of force. Everywhere it passed, space trembled. Bang! Xiao Chen's foot landed on that person's chest at lightning speed, breaking his sternum. The force surged through his body, rupturing his internal organs. That person vomited a mouthful of blood and flew back with a pained expression. His back crashed into a tree, and he could not help but vomit another mouthful of blood. Xiao Chen sheathed his saber and walked over calmly. As his footsteps got closer, that person's eyes filled with boundless despair and pain. "Let me ask you a question. If you want to live, tell me the truth," Xiao Chen said indifferently as he looked at the other party, not showing any emotion at all. Xiao Chen's overwhelming strength and unparalleled sharpness caused this person's mind to be in chaos. He did not dare to disobey. "What question?" that person asked in a quivering voice as he leaned against the tree. Xiao Chen looked coldly at the other party and said, "Tell me everything you know about the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit. Tell me everything in detail." That person's heart skipped a beat. He instinctively wanted to quibble, so he said, "I don't." Bang! Before Xiao Chen could say that he knew, he kicked this person's chest again. The powerful force caused the tree behind this person to break apart with a loud boom. His body was sent flying backward. After landing on the ground, the man rolled on the ground. His internal organs were all damaged, and his sternum was broken. His face was pale, without any trace of blood. Xiao Chen stepped forward and said calmly, "Even if you don't tell me, I can find out from others. Now I will ask you again. Are you going to tell me or not?" Seeing Xiao Chen's decisiveness, that person had a pained expression as he looked at Xiao Chen in fear. Not daring to hesitate any longer, he said, I'll talk, I'll tell you everything, just don't kill me." After listening to the other party's story, Xiao Chen had a thorough understanding of the matter. The 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit needed another 7 days to ripen. This was the reason why the two clans did not rush to make a move. There was also a rank 9 spirit beast guarding the white nascent fruit. When it ripened, it would attract even more strong spirit beasts. "Give me a message to Sidule. Tell him that he went back on his word. I am very angry." After saying that, Xiao Chen gently pushed off the ground and quickly left this place. "Are you really not afraid of him snitching? Are you really going to let him go?" Ao Jiao asked, feeling it was strange. If Sidule found out that Xiao Chen wanted the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit, he would be seeking trouble for himself. Xiao Chen had a calm expression. He smiled and said, "Since I made a promise, there is no need to kill him. Furthermore, if he returns alive, he might even be able to help me." Sidule is a shrewd person with age. He is suspicious and cautious. This is a matter of life and death for his clan. He will be even more careful. From the Situ clan cultivators, Xiao Chen already knew where the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit was. It was on a small slope near the savage beast forest. Without needing to think too much, Xiao Chen could guess that the Situ clan and Lu clan cultivators were near the slope. It would be irrational for him to go there now. After all, there were still 7 more days before the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit ripened. There was no rush. After muttering to himself for a while, Xiao Chen took out the painting of the Qing Emperor drawing the saber from the universe ring and slowly unfurled it. When the painting was completely unfurled, it gently drifted over and hovered in front of Xiao Chen. The might of the Qing emperors drawing the saber in actual combat was extraordinary. Xiao Chen had experienced it firsthand. This was just a superficial understanding of it, and it already had such combat prowess. If it improved further, it would be even more incredible. Xiao Chen's interest in this mysterious painting deepened. Taking a deep breath, Xiao Chen looked at the person in the painting. The person in the painting wore blue dragon battle robes. His long hair fluttered wildly, and his appearance was delicate and handsome. If others looked carefully, they would discover that Xiao Chen looked very similar to this person. However, his eyes were filled with the vicissitudes of life, as if they were ancient. It was unknown how many years this person had experienced for such a deep gaze. Xiao! A saber light flashed, and the person in the painting suddenly moved. However, it was not clear whether the saber moved first or the person moved first. Xiao Chen had seen the trajectory of this saber before. Although he could not clearly see the other party's figure, based on his vague perception, Xiao Chen quickly drew his saber and blocked this saber. To others, Xiao Chen did not move at all, as if he was meditating. However, at this moment, Xiao Chen's mental state fluctuated intensely. This battle was even more intense than the one with Bai Wuxue, exhausting his mental state by several times. After 10 seconds, Xiao Chen's complexion paled and he took 10 steps back. After a while, the horror in his eyes slowly disappeared. 10 seconds. I finally managed to block 32 saber strike. I also discovered 2 different trajectories of the saber strike. Xiao Chen put away the painting and closed his eyes. Then, he started to comprehend the intense mental state battle. Time passed slowly. At some point in time, Xiao Chen's hand had already grasped the saber hilt at his waist, forming a strange stance. Many illusionary figures leaped out of Xiao Chen's body, hacking at the towering trees in front. All sorts of scenes appeared in Xiao Chen's mind. Saber lights danced around and electric light shot out. Each figure had a different trajectory of the saber strike. The saber lights chopped the trees in half in Xiao Chen's mind. Leaves flew everywhere and strong winds blew. When the 34 figures leaped out, Xiao Chen opened his eyes at an appropriate time. His aura blended in with the surroundings. Xiao Chen clearly only had a pair of eyes, but he locked onto all 34 trees in front, unable to distinguish which were real or fake. Xiao! Following the feeling in his heart, Xiao Chen naturally drew the saber in his hand. The saber light was resplendent and dazzling. In the dark night, it was like a blazing sun shining brightly. Kaxie! Kaxie! The 34 trees in front were instantly chopped in half at the waist. Rows of trees fell with a loud rumble. The remaining tree trunks were all of different heights and gap. When Xiao Chen saw this scene, he could not help but rejoice. Turned out that the saber could really be drawn like this. If it was just the instant the saber was drawn, one could split the saber chi into 34 parts. Although such a technique was difficult, it was still possible for an expert bladesman of the younger generation to do it. However, to achieve a different trajectory, position, and strength for each strand of saber chi, aside from a true Grandmaster level senior, no one else in the younger generation could do it. First young master, there is some movement over there. Let's go over and take a look. Suddenly, Xiao Chen's sharp ears picked up footsteps and the voices of cultivators. He could not help but frown slightly. Xiao Chen scanned with his spiritual sense and discovered 8 superior-grade martial monarchs of the Lu clan 3 kilometers away. Under the leadership of a young man, they were rushing over here at high speed. Saber lights danced around, chopping the trees in front into pieces. Then, Xiao Chen wiped away the traces of his training. Xiao Chen leaped into the air and withdrew his aura, hiding in a nearby tree. Dong! 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 The footsteps drew closer. The people led by Lu Enz appeared at the place where Xiao Chen had practiced his saber. Lu Enz casually looked around. The trees in front had been chopped into pieces by the saber chi. Then, he closed his eyes and sensed the remnant lightning-attributed quintessence in the air. After a while, he opened his eyes and said, "Look around. They look similar to the target. They are lightning-attributed bladesmen. After discovering them, sound the alarm immediately." The one-armed black-clad swordsman followed beside Lu Enz and did not leave with the others. The black-clad swordsman was not strong in the first place. Now that he had lost an arm, his combat prowess decreased even more. Lu Enz brought the black-clad swordsman mainly because he wanted the black-clad swordsman to help him identify the target. Lu Enz held his sword and asked interestedly, "Lu Hua, how strong is that white-robed bladesman? Tell me objectively." Hatred flashed in Lu Hua's eyes. When he recalled Xiao Chen's attack, he could not help but reveal an expression of horror. "Very strong. His cultivation is not high, but his saber techniques are very strange. I clearly judged the trajectory of his saber. However, I still missed when I was about to attack." Lu Enz's lips curled up in a smile. He said, "Changing moves at the last minute? It looks like he is a bladesman with sharp eyes and extremely fast attack." When Lu Hua heard this, he hesitated for a while. Then, he said, "First young master, he was indeed very fast." However, this subordinate felt that he did not change his move at the last minute. Lu Enz's expression turned grave. He could not understand. He said, "Since you already judged the trajectory of his saber, and he did not change his move at the last minute, logically speaking, you should have been able to receive that saber strike." Lu Hua could tell that Lu Enz suspected that his judgment was wrong, that he had been fooled by a feint. He quickly denied it. "First young master, I dare say that this subordinate's judgment was correct." Lu Enz glanced at Lu Hua's mutilated arm and smiled in disdain. However, he did not say anything. So. After the 8 superior-grade martial monarchs who went out to search failed to find anything, they shot back like arrows and landed before Lu Enz. "Reporting to first young master, we did not find that person," the black-clad men reported in unison. They looked at Lu Enz, showing their absolute loyalty. They should be death-sworn soldiers trained by the Lu clan. Xiao Chen, who had already hidden himself in the tree, heaved a sigh of relief when he heard this. He was not afraid of these 8 people. Instead, he was afraid of being discovered and exposing his strength. Before the white nascent fruit ripened, the Lu clan would target him. Lu Enz asked doubtfully, "Not even a single trace?" "Not a single trace. We did not discover anything." When Lu Enz heard this, he laughed loudly. He said, "How could there be no trace at all? Even if he heard our footsteps and left in advance, he would have left some traces in his haste." Chapter 736. Lu Enyin withdrew her smile and showed a sullen expression. She shouted, "This person is definitely nearby. Destroy all the trees within 500 meters. Do not leave a single one alive. Blast them all to pieces." Yes. The 8 black-clad martial monarchs leaped into the air and quickly carried out Lu Enz's orders. Surging sword lights swept out in all directions. Bang! 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 The sword chi rampaged in all directions, and the towering trees were instantly turned into sawdust in the face of this heavy sword chi. The tree Xiao Chen was hiding in was the first to be attacked. He sighed and had no choice but to reveal himself. Tree shards filled the air like snowflakes. Xiao Chen flew backward and landed on a tree branch. So. Lu Enz led the 8 superior-grade martial monarchs and leaped into the air. They landed on a few trees that were not attacked and surrounded Xiao Chen. Lu Enz looked at Xiao Chen and asked the one-armed black-clad swordsman on the ground, "Lu Hua, is that him?" Lu Hua was very excited. His body trembled as he shouted, "First young master, it is him. He is the one who saved Situ Feng and injured our brothers." Lu Enz raised his head and looked at Xiao Chen. His expression turned sullen as he said, "You are rather bold. You injured my Lu clan's people, yet you did not mix with the Sidu clan's people, and did not leave quickly. You are doing this for the white nascent fruit, right?" Xiao Chen's expression did not change. Even though he was surrounded by 8 people, he did not panic. He said calmly, "I do not know what you are talking about." A murderous intent flashed in Lu Enz's eyes. When he thought of his father's instructions, he said coldly, "You better not know. I'll give you a chance now. Scram out of the savage beast forest immediately, and the matter of you saving Sidu Feng will be written off." Trying to threaten Xiao Chen to leave? Too naive. Xiao Chen smiled coldly to himself. He said indifferently, "It is not up to you to decide who I save. It is even less up to you to decide whether I leave or not." Lu En's expression turned cold as killing intent surged in his eyes. He placed his right hand on the hilt of his saber and said, "I dare you to say that again." It was a very common line, but Xiao Chen had no intention of paying attention to him at all. There were some words that he had always disdained to say a second time. "Since you say that I don't have the guts, then I'll use my actions to prove it. Whether I have the guts or not, there's no need to talk so much." Xiao Chen placed his right hand on the saber hilt and quickly condensed the aura of the Qing Emperors, drawing the saber, merging it with the surrounding environment. Xiao Chen instantly drew the lunar shadow saber. The resplendent purple saber light was as bright as the sun, shining brightly. Xiao! 9 strands of purple saber qi instantly flew out from different trajectories. The saber lights were dazzling, and the saber qi looked like rainbows flickering with electricity. All 9 of them, including Lu En's, were astonished. Xiao Chen's saber aura had enveloped all of them. It seemed that everyone could become his target. However, logically speaking, he only had 1 saber and 1 pair of eyes. It was impossible for him to attack 9 people at once. All of this was just an illusion. However, the reality defied common sense. Xiao Chen's saber really struck 9 people. Furthermore, the trajectory and strength of each saber strike were all different. At this moment, common sense was completely overturned. Clang, clang, clang. The sword light and the saber qi collided, and quintessential essence exploded, emitting a powerful shockwave that directly chopped down a large tree. With one slash, he easily disrupted the formation of the 9 people, throwing them into chaos. Soaring dragon, Xiao Chen rode the dragon and flew up. The cyan dragon image carried him and directly flew in front of Lu En's, quickly using ghost image chop. Thunder roared without end. The saber lights were like ghostly shadows, hard to distinguish between the real and the fake. Lu En's flicked his wrist and a blue sword flower appeared, blocking the saber light. However, the veritable essence, energy, and immortal state of thunder contained in the saber far surpassed his expectations. With each saber strike, Lu En's retreated 100 meters in the air. After 72 attacks, he had already retreated more than 7 kilometers. A strong wind formed by veritable essence energy swept out. Everywhere the two passed, towering trees were uprooted, and long gullies appeared in the ground. After the 72 attacks were completed, the saber qi containing the immortal state of thunder immediately formed a vast sea of lightning that exploded. Lu En's reaction speed was very impressive. Before the sea of lightning formed, he quickly executed his heaven-ranked martial technique. 9 dazzling blue balls of sword light surrounded Xiao Chen's body and quickly spun around. Xiao Chen glared, his hair scattered, and his clothes fluttered wildly. Boom! The sea of lightning clashed with the 9 balls of veritable essence energy. A surging energy surged out, and the ground actually sank. After that, countless specks of dust shot out like cannonballs, forming a huge pit around the two. Lu En's held the advantage in terms of veritable essence energy. However, Xiao Chen's state was immortal, and his physical body was much stronger. In such a head-on clash, while the two looked equal, in reality, Xiao Chen's injuries were much smaller than Xiao Chen's. Pu ci. In the end, Lu En's could no longer hold on. The 9 balls of blue veritable essence energy shattered, and he vomited a mouthful of blood as he went flying back. Xiao Chen, who was hidden in the sea of lightning, revealed a cold gaze. Then, an untraceable saber light flashed. Dang! The saber light originally wanted to pierce through Lu En's heart. However, Lu En's hid a tough heart-protecting mirror on his chest. It was unknown what rank this secret treasure was, but it completely blocked Xiao Chen's saber light. Xiao Chen managed to survive. However, the veritable essence energy contained in the saber could not be blocked by the heart-protecting mirror. The huge impact caused Lu En's to vomit another mouthful of blood. Lu En's body flew high into the air and tumbled on the ground before he climbed back up in a sorry state. Lu En's looked at Xiao Chen with some horror in his eyes. Now, it was clear whether Xiao Chen dared to say that or not. Lu En's scanned the area with his spiritual sense. The 8 black-clad martial monarchs, who he had shaken off, would arrive soon. This Lu En's did not look like a good-for-nothing young master. It was not worth dragging things out for the sake of killing this group of people until the other side's main force arrived. Xiao Chen sheathed his saber, and the blue dragon under his feet circled around. Then, he soared into the sky, carrying Xiao Chen. "First young master, are you all right?" The 8 black-clad martial monarchs did not chase after Xiao Chen. Instead, they quickly surrounded Lu En's, protecting him tightly. Lu En's coughed, and blood leaked out of a corner of his lip. He said with some lingering fear, Lu Hua was right. This person's saber techniques defied common sense. His state contained mysteries, and his physical body was terrifyingly strong. Aside from my father, no one in the Lu clan can suppress him. We have to send news back quickly. We have to eliminate this person. Savage Beast Forest, Situ clan's stronghold. When Situ Lei heard the news from the scout, he was astonished. He said, "Are you saying that not only did the white-robed bladesman discover you, but the other person also died at his hands?" The scout lowered his head and said, "He is too strong. We are not a match for him at all." Situ Lei looked suspiciously at this person. He asked sullenly, "Since that is the case, why did he let you return?" The scout's heart trembled. When he thought of Situ Lei's horrifying means, he quickly explained, "He told me to bring back a message. He said that the clan head went back on his word, and that he was very angry. As for Xiao Chen's interrogation about the white nascent fruit, he had leaked the secret in the end. Naturally, he would not say anything. Otherwise, he would not be able to escape death." Situ Lei thought quickly, "What does he mean by saying that I went back on my word? Is he blaming me for sending people to follow him? He is very angry. Is he threatening me? Never mind, it is not wise to offend a ruthless person at such a crucial moment. As long as he is not here to snatch the white nascent fruit, it is fine. So what if a scout dies?" However, just as Situ Lei was about to speak, he noticed that the scout's hand, hidden in his sleeve, was trembling violently. "Kneel!" Situ Lei's expression changed as he suddenly shouted. His voice was like thunder and as majestic as a mountain. The majesty that Situ Lei had accumulated over the years suddenly erupted, causing the guilty scout to panic. He immediately knelt on the ground and kowtowed, begging for mercy. "Clan head, please spare me. That person forced me to say the matter of the white nascent fruit. I definitely did not take the initiative to say it." Situ Lei's face sank. He said in a cold voice, "What a deep scheme. I nearly fell for it. Letting him return alive is better than killing him. This is clearly a better way to eliminate my suspicions. Strong strength, calm and decisive mind. This person must be eliminated." Situ Lei casually kicked the scout in front away. Then, he instructed his subordinates, "Pass down my orders. Search for that white-robed bladesman with all your might. I will personally lead a team to kill this person." On the other side, a similar scene played out in the Lu clan's stronghold. When Lu Chen heard Lu En's report, he was greatly startled. After a while, Lu Chen instructed, "Search for this person with all your might. I will personally lead a team. How can we let someone take advantage of the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit?" It was easy to understand why the two of them made the same decision. They were not afraid of an enemy in the open, they were afraid of a strong opponent hiding in the dark. Anyone would fear such an enemy. There were still 7 more days before the white nascent fruit matured. By eliminating a variable, they would feel more at ease. When the sky brightened, Xiao Qin clearly felt that the atmosphere in the forest was different. The Situ clan and the Lu clan, these two clans that had feuded with each other, seemed to have come to a tacit understanding and worked together. With the hillside with the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit as the center, the Situ clan spread out in a fan shape and started a thorough search. With such a dense search, no matter how well Xiao Qin hid, he was discovered in the end. The ones who discovered him were a group of cultivators from the Situ clan. Their cultivations were not high, so Xiao Qin did not have to spend much effort to kill them all. However, the other party had also successfully sounded the alarm, exposing Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin felt 2 extremely strong auras heading for him. They did not hide their auras at all. Everywhere they passed, the spirit beasts gave way. As Xiao Qin looked in the direction of the approaching people, he frowned and said, "The 2 clan heads actually made a move personally. It looks like they are determined to get this 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit." Xiao Qin was probably in trouble now. The thing that he worried about the most had happened. With a half-sage leading the team and the trump cards in his hands, it would be easy for him to escape. However, with 2 half-sages working together, unless he used all his trump cards, it would be impossible for him to leave easily. Xiao Qin pushed off the ground and leaped onto a tree branch. Then, he nimbly moved through the forest. With one gentle leap, he traveled 500 meters. Xiao Qin left many trees behind him. Chapter 737. Not long after Sidule left, he appeared where Xiao Qin had been. The ground was strewn with the corpses of 5 or 6 Situ clan cultivators. All of them had died in one strike. Some of them had not even drawn their weapons. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The superior grade martial monarchs of the Situ clan, who were slower, landed one after another. When they saw the corpses on the ground, they were greatly startled. "What a fast saber!" Sidule's expression turned somewhat grave. He felt a chill run down his spine. If such a horrifying person attacked him from behind, it would be extremely dangerous. Xiao! Sonic booms resounded. Sidule did not even turn his head as he said, "He is here." The person who arrived was Sidule's nemesis, the Azure Peak City's Lu clan's clan head, Lu Chen. Lu Chen did not say a word. He only looked calmly at the corpses on the ground. However, the Situ clan cultivators behaved as though they were facing a great enemy, feeling incredibly nervous. Soon, the superior grade martial monarchs of the Lu clan landed one after another. When they saw the corpses on the ground, they revealed similarly horrified expressions. Sidule turned around and looked meaningfully at Lu Chen. He said calmly, "Old fogey Lu, you and I have fought for decades. You should know what I am thinking now, right?" Lu Chen's wrinkled eyes squinted slightly. He smiled and said, "Given our characters, we are not willing to let others take advantage of us. I know what you are thinking. Good. Before the white nascent fruit ripens, our clans will put aside our past grudges and deal with this person with all our might. What do you think?" Sidule said sullenly with a bright gleam in his eyes. Lu Chen revealed a sinister smile on his aged face. He said, "That is exactly what I am thinking." The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. The 2 clans, which were like fire and water, were actually prepared to work together to deal with a common enemy under the pressure of Xiao Qin. If news of this spread, it would startle the entire Azure Peak City. Sidule looked in the direction that Xiao Qin had taken. He said calmly, "Aside from you and me, no one else can stop this brat. My opinion is that once we discover this brat, we should immediately attack together. You and I, let's attack together immediately. Don't hold back, lest we increase the number of casualties. Last night, Lu Enz had already told Lu Chen about Xiao Chen's strength. Now that he saw the corpses before him, Lu Chen could not help but feel astonished. Even though Lu Chen had not seen Xiao Chen before, he had a rough guess of Xiao Chen's strength. He felt that Situ Lei was not exaggerating. Cultivators of the two clans filled this small area. Furthermore, Xiao Chen was not familiar with the Chen. Even if they had the advantage of speed, they would still be discovered by the cultivators of the two clans from time to time. They could not truly calm down. 3 days later, even after Xiao Chen did everything he could, he still could not shake off the cultivators of the two clans. After a while, Situ Lei and Lu Chen finally blocked his way. In front, Xiao Chen smiled. Situ Lei's Chen. Behind him, Lu Chen held a sword as he looked expressionlessly at Xiao Chen's back. Several cultivators hid in the forest on both sides. They leaped around and formed a huge encirclement, blocking all of Xiao Chen's paths. Little brother, you really made this old man look for you for the past few days, Situ Lei said sullenly as he pointed his spear at Xiao Chen. In the past few days, the number of cultivators of the two clans that died at Xiao Chen's hands was uncountable. The people who came here were all elite. They had spent a lot of resources to nurture them. Anyone would feel frustrated if they died like that. Even though 2 half-sages blocked his path, Xiao Chen did not panic. He smiled and said, "The two of you really think highly of me. To think that you are working together to deal with a junior. Haha. I want to see if you can still smile later." Old Fogey Lu attacked. Sparks flew on the tip of the spear. Situ Lei pushed his wrist forward, and the spear became like a dragon, roaring as it carried Situ Lei. In that instant, sand and pebbles flew, and a strong wind howled. Situ Lei unleashed his half-sage aura. Even the sky changed color. Lu Chen's gaze turned cold as he attacked at the same time. An icy blue light flickered on his sword, and a strong sword intent spread out. Lu Chen's hair fluttered wildly as his clothes fluttered. He pushed off the ground, and his sword hummed as he thrust it at Xiao Chen. When the 2 half-sages arrived, the auras of 2 half-sages pressed towards Xiao Chen like mountains. Regular martial monarchs would not even need to make a move. Under the pressure of such auras, they would find it hard to move. They would not even be able to breathe and would be instantly blasted into bits. However, these two were too naive to think that they could suppress Xiao Chen, who had consumed 10-odd monarch bloodgrass, with their auras. After activating the power of his bloodline, the ancient sovereign's aura in Xiao Chen's body surged out. A noble, ancient, vast sovereign's aura spread out, clashing with the half-sage auras of the two without any fear. Bang! 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 The formless auras clashed, giving off loud sounds in the air. Suddenly, small hurricanes formed and surged out in all directions. The hurricanes swept through the trees on both sides. The lush leaves were immediately swept away, leaving only bare tree trunks. The cultivators of the two clans hidden in the trees quickly moved out of the way. Before the ancient sovereign's aura, Situ Lei and Lu Chen could not help but pause for a moment. They were clearly caught off guard. Xiao Chen squinted and took advantage of this opportunity. He quickly drew his saber with his right hand. This was the Qing Emperor's drawing the saber, which he had gained a basic understanding of. The boundlessly resplendent purple saber qi split into two, moving in 2 different trajectories as they attacked the openings the two revealed. Dang! 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 2 metallic clangs resounded. Situ Lei and Lu Chen, 2 half-sages, were actually forced back by Xiao Chen's saber. However, a half-sage was still a half-sage in the end. After Xiao Chen adapted to the sovereign's aura, he charged over again. The overwhelming attacks carried vast quintessence, looking like dark clouds covering the ground. Their auras were startling, and their might was unparalleled. Xiao Chen received 10 moves head-on. His qi and blood surged, and his arms went slightly numb. Although he did not suffer any substantial injuries, the situation was not good. He could not retaliate at all. The difference in cultivation is too great. Even if I exhaust all my trump cards, I cannot take down 2 half-sages for now. At best, I can fight them to a draw. There are still so many cultivators eyeing me covetously. If I run out of quintessence, I will not be able to escape death. I have to think of a way to get them to give up on chasing me. After all, their ultimate goal is the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit and not to fight with half-sages. Amid the strong wind, Xiao Chen received the attacks of the 2. He quickly thought about what to do. Unknowingly, 100 moves had passed. Beside the forest, the cultivators of the 2 clans widened their eyes as they watched. They all had incredulous expressions. Unexpectedly, this fellow lasted 100 moves against the attacks of 2 half-sages without showing any signs of weakening. Sidu Lei's spear light trembled as he said sullenly, "Old Fogey Lu, it's time to make your killing move." Their opponent was unexpectedly difficult to deal with, causing the 2 to lose some patience. Lu Chen nodded and said, "Kill him in 1 move." Xiao Chen suppressed the energy in his body. With a thought, the 2 are going to use their heaven-ranked martial technique. My chance might be here. 9-ring starburst. Lu Chen shouted ferociously, and 9 blue balls of sword qi appeared around him. Each ball of sword qi was compressed and contained horrifying might. The balls of sword qi circled around Lu Chen frantically. Lu Chen's aura soared, and strong winds blew in all directions like sabers. Ka, ka, ka. Without any time to react, the towering trees were chopped into pieces by the wind blade. The surrounding cultivators of the 2 clans revealed horrified expressions as they quickly fled. The might of this move in Lu Chen's hands was more than 10 times stronger than Lu En's. They were on a completely different level. Lu Chen pointed his sword into the distance, and the 9 balls of sword qi merged into 1. A dazzling light shot towards Xiao Chen. 10,000 swords hummed in the air, clanging endlessly. On the other side, 9 berserk flaming dragons soared up behind Sidu Lei. The flaming dragons were 100 meters long and flames surged out. They reared their heads back and roared with a startling aura. Sidu Lei grasped his spear with both hands and shook it. 9 flaming dragon-shaped spear qi shot out, roaring ferociously. Flames blazed in the air and the temperature soared. Even the dust in the air melted away, looking very horrifying. Countless strands of energy clashed in Xiao Chen's body. That was the aftereffect of receiving 100 moves from the 2 half-sages head-on. If not for the golden light barrier on his bones, he would have already been severely injured. Fortunately, as long as he recuperated after the battle, he would be able to recover immediately. After suppressing this energy, Xiao Chen watched the 2 execute their heaven-ranked martial technique. Xiao Chen suppressed this energy and looked at the heaven-ranked martial techniques executed by the 2. He quickly made a decision and instantly executed the dragon subduing slash, Return of the Azure Dragon. Vast waves surged behind Xiao Chen, looking at the boundless sea. 999 pillars of water soared into the sky as the blue dragon leaped out of the sea. The dragon might gathered on the saber and formed a surging dragon-shaped saber qi. Auspicious clouds covered the sky, and dragon might spread out. Then, it clashed with the resplendent sword qi and the horrifying 9 flaming dragons. Bang! An earth-shattering explosion occurred on the ground. The sword pill and the fire dragon saber qi exploded at the same time. Countless cracks appeared on the ground in an instant, spreading out like a spider web. Huge rocks soared into the sky and shot through the air, covering the sky and the sun. After that, the shock waves shattered the rocks in the air and scattered them with the wind, forming a surging, boundless sandstorm. A white figure could be seen in the dust that filled the air. He vomited a mouthful of blood and flew back miserably. Clearly, using Return of the Blue Dragon rising from the sea to clash head-on with the heaven-ranked martial techniques of two half-sages was too much. Xiao Chen only lasted for a moment before the shockwaves knocked him back. Sidu Lei and Lu Chen had unsightly expressions as well. The shock wave knocked them back 500 meters, and the quintessence in their bodies turned somewhat chaotic. When the dust settled, a white figure riding on the blue dragon quickly fled into the distance. As for Sidu Lei and Lu Chen, they looked at the white figure and did not rush to give chase. After a long time, Sidu Lei said unhurriedly, "Old Fogey Lu, unexpectedly, you are still so black-hearted. If you really dared to execute your killing move, 9 heavenly star burst, this brat would be a corpse by now." Lu Chen smiled faintly and said, "Likewise. You still did not execute your boundless sea of flames." After chasing Xiao Chen away, the two of them, who had fought for most of their lives, immediately became hostile with each other. This made sense when one thought about it. These two were mortal enemies. How could they trust each other absolutely? If one side used their killing move and the other side did not, wouldn't that give the other side a chance to kill them on the spot? Chapter 738. Sidu Lei smiled gently and said, "This brat is already crippled. Earlier, he received 100 moves from us. Now, he received 2 heaven-ranked martial technique. He will not be able to recover within a month." The 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit would ripen in only 4 days. By the time Xiao Chen arrived a month later, the white nascent fruit would be gone, and it would be useless. This was also why the two were not in a rush to chase after Xiao Chen. Unless one was a martial sage, no one could recover within 4 days from the heaven-ranked martial techniques of 2 half-sages. No matter what, they managed to get rid of a hidden danger. Although they paid a high price, it was all worth it. Lu Chen turned around and smiled. "Old Fogey Situ, there is a tricolored flame python guarding the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit. How about we work together later?" Sidu Lei laughed loudly and said, "That would be for the best. We cannot let others watch from the sidelines. Naturally, we cannot let a beast take advantage of us." It was rather funny. The two had relaxed expressions and calm gazes. They did not look like mortal enemies who had fought for decades. After the discussion, both sides retracted their forces, no longer paying attention to Xiao Chen. A white figure swayed as he descended from the sky above a small river in the periphery of the savage beast forest, landing on the riverbank. Xiao Chen raised his head and looked at his pale reflection in the river. He coughed intensely a few times, and blood flowed out of the corner of his mouth, dyeing his white robes red. This time, Xiao Chen was severely injured. His internal organs all cracked. He had truly sustained internal injuries. However, his injuries were not as severe as Lu Chen and Sidu Lei made them out to be. Under martial sage, indeed, no one could withstand the attacks of 2 heaven-ranked martial techniques and recover quickly. However, Xiao Chen was an exception. His physical body had already reached the standard of a martial sage. Furthermore, his bones had formed an internal defense. In terms of resistance to attacks and recovery, it would not be an exaggeration to say that a regular inferior-grade martial sage could not compare to him. Ao Jiao, who was in the Immortal Spirit Ring, looked at the pale Xiao Chen, who occasionally frowned due to the intense pain. Feeling confused, she asked, "Xiao Chen, if you had used Soaring Dragon, you would not have suffered such severe injuries, right?" Xiao Chen swallowed a healing medicinal pill and squeezed out a smile on his pale face. "There is no need. My goal is the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit, not to fight to the death with 2 half-sages. Continuously exposing my strength will only make the 2 of them more wary of me. Why don't I get injured at the right time and let them think that I can't fight anymore? At that time, I'll give them an unexpected surprise." Being chased by the 2 great clans for the past few days had left Xiao Chen mentally and physically exhausted. He had not been able to relax for even a moment. The 2 half-saints were pressing down step by step, and it caused his mind to be strained at all times. It was too exhausting. If this continued and Xiao Chen kept putting on a brave front, not only would he fail to obtain the white nascent fruit, but he might even lose his life here. Ao Jiao frowned heavily. She still said with some reluctance, however, it is still too dangerous for you to continue like this. If they really steeled themselves to continue chasing you, you would be in real danger now. Xiao Chen analyzed calmly, that won't happen. The two of them fear each other. If I were no longer a threat, they would not have worked together to suppress me. Furthermore, riches come from danger. Even if they chase me, I will accept it. No one in this world can predict everything. After 3 days, Xiao Chen's strong physical body completely recovered. Xiao Chen, who was at the riverside, opened his eyes. His delicate face had a ruddy glow, and he looked spirited without any signs of illness. Xiao Chen radiated a sharp aura, and his eyes were bright and spirited. His gaze was as sharp as a knife's edge. After stretching his body, Xiao Chen took out a black cloak from the universe ring and draped it over himself. He looked into the distance and muttered to himself, in another day, the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit will ripen. The white nascent fruit will definitely be mine. Xiao Chen stretched his arms and soared into the air like a huge bird. Just as he was about to land, a blue dragon image appeared under his feet. Xiao Chen pushed off with his feet, and his body flew forward again. In an instant, he crossed a kilometer. Xiao Chen moved like a black arrow as he quickly moved forward in the forest. After 1 hour, a hill more than 800 meters tall appeared at the limits of his vision. The cultivators of the Situ clan and the Lu clan hid at the foot of the hill. They looked at the summit with fervent gazes. The white nascent fruit was about the size of a fist. With such a long distance, Xiao Chen could not see it with his eyes. He could only keep extending his spiritual sense forward. Finally, Xiao Chen saw the white nascent fruit hiding at the edge of a crack in the wall. The 4 black petals made the white spirit fruit look exceptionally eye-catching. The spirit fruit was snow-white and as soft as a baby's skin. No one could bear to touch it. Xiao Chen extended his spiritual sense, and soon discovered the tricolored flame python guarding not far away. The tricolored flame python was covered in flame tattoos. It was not very thick, only 100 meters long. It could not be compared to the 300-meter-long python that Xiao Chen once saw. However, the bewitching tricolored snake crown on its head was like an evil poppy flower, and it was emitting a strange aura. It reminded people that this was a genuine 9th-grade spirit beast that could be compared to a semi-sage realm expert. Xiao Chen's spiritual sense noticed Sidu Lei and Lu Chen in the air. The corners of Xiao Chen's lips curled up slightly. He pulled down his hood and crossed his arms. Then, he stood on a tree branch and waited quietly. Before a storm, there would always be a period of calm. The wind would not blow, and the beasts would not cry out. Everything would be exceptionally quiet, so quiet that it would make one feel sad. At this moment, the hill with the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit was undoubtedly in this period of calm. Sidu Lei and the Lu clan cultivators hid themselves in the grass and trees below the hill. They held their breaths and remained motionless, cautiously watching each other. Everyone knew that no matter which side obtained the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit, the other side's clan would suffer a calamity. The families on the other side would suffer a calamity and be expelled from Green Summit City. Their hundreds of years of family business would be completely destroyed. No one could accept such a result. A battle with the other side was unavoidable. The clan heads of the two clans chatted cheerfully, standing side by side in the air. Those who did not know what was going on might even think that the two were old friends. Sidu Lei looked at the slope and slowly said, "When the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit ripens, it will definitely attract many peak rank 9 spirit beasts. At that time, the disciples of our clans will go and block these foreign spirit beasts. The two of us will work together to kill the tricolored flame python. After that, the fight for the white nascent fruit will depend on our own abilities. Brother Lu, what do you think?" Lu Chen smiled calmly and said, Based on Brother Sidhu's tone, it seems like you can defeat me and obtain the white nascent fruit. When Sidhu Lay heard this, his expression did not change. He put on a superficial smile and said, Brother Lu must be joking. If I were really confident, your Lu clan would have been chased out of Azure Peak City long ago. Why would I wait until now? Sly old fox. Lu Chen cursed in his heart. He did not linger on this topic. He said, Sure, let's go with your suggestion. Sidhu Lay had trump cards, but so did Lu Chen. If they relied on their own abilities, Lu Chen was not afraid. As the two waited quietly, time slowly went by, and the sky slowly darkened. Normally, the roars of all sorts of beasts could be heard in the savage beast forest at night. Strangely, there was not a single roar tonight. Under the night sky, many pairs of eyes stared at the small hill. No one relaxed at all. In the boundless darkness, time and scene seemed to freeze. Sidhu Lay and Lu Chen stood side by side in the air, each with their own ulterior motive. The tricolored flame python beside the white nascent fruit. The cultivators of the two clans hid at the foot of the hill like statues. Even further away there was Xiao Chen, dressed in a black cloak, leaning against a tree trunk with his arms crossed. Everything formed a strange picture. All that was left was for the white nascent fruit to ripen. When a mountain torrent erupted and a storm arrived, the picture would shatter. Amidst the silence, it was already midnight. Suddenly, the white nascent fruit's 4 black leaves glowed with light. The black leaves were a boundless starry heavens. The motes of light were the twinkling stars in the starry heavens. At this moment, the people who had been waiting for a long time could not help revealing faint excitement in their eyes. The 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit was about to ripen. The tricolored flame python guarding at the side moved its body slightly. It stuck out its forked tongue as it looked greedily at the crystalline, snow-white fruit. Sidhu Lay's and Lu Chen's eyes lit up. Even people as astute as them could not help taking a step forward. Even they themselves did not notice it. The cultivators of the two clans hiding at the foot of the hill leaned forward, advancing 5 or 6 meters in unison. At this moment, some ripples appeared in the quiet picture. Aside from the young, black-cloaked bladesman standing on the distant tree trunk, who remained as calm as before, everyone else in the picture could not resist the temptation. All the people in the picture could not resist the temptation and took a step forward. The motes of starlight on the leaves increased in number and grew brighter. In this boundless darkness, they became even more eye-catching. Xiao Chen, who was far away, could see them clearly. The thousands of motes of light flickered, looking very beautiful. They overshadowed the white nascent fruit's luster, giving off the feeling of a guest stealing the spotlight. However, everyone knew that this was only temporary. No matter how bright a supporting character was, he was just a supporting character in the end. Suddenly, a fiery light appeared in the middle of the flickering motes of starlight. The light was like the blazing sun, instantly suppressing the motes of light. It was like the sun quietly hiding in the night sky. When it released its light, even the dazzling stars would lose their brilliance. How could the light of a grain of rice compete with the sun and the moon? The moment the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit released its light, it shone brightly. A vast and boundless spiritual energy surged out into the surroundings. The multicolored light in the sky looked like snowflakes drifting down, filling the sky with auspicious signs. Roar! The 5-colored auspicious sign and the spiritual energy that leaked out from the spirit fruit spread far and wide in an instant. The powerful roar of a beast resounded throughout the sky and earth. The ground trembled. As the peak rank 9 spirit beast ran for its life, the shock waves actually reached this place in an instant. My Situ clan disciples, heed my orders. Guard the hill. Do not let any spirit beast near. My Lu clan disciples, heed my orders. Guard the hill. Do not let any spirit beast near. Situ Lay and Lu Chen shouted at nearly the same time. The instant they spoke, their figures moved like lightning, arriving beside the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit. Chapter 739. Without saying a word, they each sent a palm strike, sending the tricolored flame python, which wanted to swallow the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit, flying. The tricolored flame python tumbled in the air before landing at the foot of the slope. Then, it glared angrily at Situ Lei and Lu Chen, who were plotting against it. Move further away and deal with this beast. If we destroy the white nascent fruit, it will be over. Situ Lei's spear trembled. Before the tricolored flame python could react, he took the initiative to attack. Lu Chen quickly followed with a surging killing chi. The tricolored flame python was about as strong as the two. Normally, if they met alone, they might not be able to deal with this beast even after putting in a lot of effort. However, today, they ran into two half-sages determined to obtain the white nascent fruit. No matter how strong the tricolored flame python was, it could not reverse the situation. 2 men and 1 snake started an intense battle on the slope. With the two working together, they suppressed the tricolored flame python until it could not cause any trouble. At the same time, the battle at the foot of the slope also started. Hundreds of elite cultivators of the two clans worked together to defend against the rank 9 spirit beasts rushing over frantically. The battle at the foot of the slope was much more bloody than the one at the top. Although there were no peak rank 9 spirit beasts, there were more of them. The cultivators of the two clans defended bitterly, but they still paled in comparison. Casualties occurred at every moment. At this moment, the peaceful scene was completely torn apart. Miserable cries, beast roars, quintessence explosions, and all sorts of chaotic noises rang out endlessly. Under the hood, Xiao Chun stared at the white nascent fruit, which still gave off a bright light. He entered deep thought. After a while, Xiao Chun gently pushed off the ground like a ghost in the night. He silently flew forward, flying higher and higher until he hid himself in a cloud. Xiao Chun controlled the wind and carried the cloud to the top of the white nascent fruit. The people in the intense battle all had nervous expressions. No one noticed this scene. A dark cloud in the sky slowly approached the white nascent fruit. When the cloud descended to 2 kilometers, Xiao Chun stopped and looked at Situ Lei and Lu Chen, the two half-sages that posed the greatest threat to him. The tricolored flame python was already covered in wounds. The poisonous flames it spat out were growing thinner, and the threat it posed to the two was diminishing. Seeing that the tricolored flame python was about to die, Situ Lei and Lu Chen's movements gradually slowed down. The distance between them had unknowingly increased. A strange light flickered in their eyes as they stared at each other. Their main focus was no longer on the tricolored flame python. The pitiful tricolored flame python had nearly died. Due to various reasons, Situ Lei and Lu Chen had hung it up, refusing to give it a quick death. Situ Lei's spear light swept out, and the 3-colored flame flew up. The momentum was astonishing, but in fact, it did not use much strength at all. Lu Chen kicked the tricolored flame python flying at him back. Then, he smiled indifferently and said, "Brother Situ, I'll leave the final strike of this beast to you." Situ Lei smiled calmly and said, "Brother Lu, you go first. With your movement technique, you will definitely be able to easily dodge the counterattack of the tricolored flame python before its death." "Ha ha. Brother Situ, you go first. How can this old man's strength compare to yours? Before any spirit beast died, it would make a desperate counterattack." These two were crafty. Clearly, they did not want to endure this final strike. Just as these two were pushing each other away, a black figure suddenly descended from a cloud above the white nascent fruit. This figure moved astonishingly fast. The direction in which he appeared caught everyone off guard as well. A figure flashed. Situ Lei and Lu Chen, who were chatting with each other, could not react at all. Someone snatched away the glowing white nascent fruit. When the two of them looked back, they saw a black figure carrying the white nascent fruit, rushing down the mountain quickly. Situ Lei's and Lu Chen's mouths gaped open in shock. When they reacted, they became enraged. How bold! How dare he snatch away the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit from under our noses? Situ-Lei roared ferociously and chased after the black figure in a frenzy. After planning for such a long time, someone snatched away the treasure at the last moment. No one could accept such a disappointment. Boom! Spear lights trembled and sword lights flickered. In their rage, Situ-Lei and Lu Chen each sent out a move. A blue ball of sword light and a roaring fire dragon charged at the black figure, trying to block him. The black figure seemed to have eyes on the back of his head. He pushed off the ground and leaped up, easily dodging the two fatal attacks. The fire dragon and the ball of sword exploded, creating a strong shockwave that surged out. The two raged. In order to block that black figure, they frantically ran, sending all sorts of attacks at Xiao Chen. Bang! 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 Quintessence surged and rocks flew out. The horrifying shockwave created a strong wind, cutting the surroundings like knives. Although Xiao Chen dodged all these attacks, the black cloak he wore was already in tatters. It was no longer useful, so he casually took it off. The moment the white clear wind robes appeared, Situ-Lei and Lu Chen immediately recognized Xiao Chen. They were dumbfounded. How can this be? He is so severely injured. How can he appear in such a short time? The shock in the two's eyes was extreme. They could not help but stop what they were doing. They stared at Xiao Chen in a daze. After so many schemes and plans, after so many rounds of searching, in the end, this 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit still ended up in the hands of an outsider. Ignore those spirit beasts. Block him. When the two recovered their wits and saw that Xiao Chen had already run far away, they shouted at the disciples at the foot of the mountain. Instantly, hundreds of martial monarchs abandoned the spirit beasts they were fighting and launched themselves at Xiao Chen. So. Many figures flew out, their quintessence surging. 200 or 300 martial monarchs appeared together. Their auras merged into one, looking like a vast mountain range before Xiao Chen. There were close to 300 martial monarchs. Although their cultivations varied, if they attacked together, even a half-sage would not dare to clash head-on. Xiao Chen's face sank and his sea of consciousness surged. He quickly circulated the dragon tone art in his body, draining his quintessence and mental energy at the same time. The dragon-shaped quintessence circulated in his body, and resounding dragon roars resounded continuously. When Xiao Chen felt the explosive energy in his chest, he opened his mouth and roared. The vigorous true dragon's voice immediately surged out. The wind howled and dragon's might spread out. The resonant dragon's voice was like a clap of thunder, ear-splitting. When the sound wave spread out, the trees in the way gave off crisp cracking sounds as they all snapped in half. The close to 300 martial monarchs felt a strong wind blow at them. They could not even open their eyes. Those with weaker cultivations were even knocked back. What was even more horrifying was that the dragon's might contained in the sound wave, infused with surging mental energy. When it entered these people's seas of consciousness, it sounded like thunder roared in their minds. His entire head was in a daze, and the movements of his hands stopped for a moment. Taking advantage of this moment, Xiao Chen stood on the blue dragon image and charged over. The ferocious impact knocked the people in front of him into the air like sandbags. By the time these people recovered their wits, Xiao Chen had already taken advantage of this moment to cross the crowd and run far away. When Situ-Lei and Lu Chen saw this scene, they were flabbergasted. Even though they were very knowledgeable, they had never heard of such a strange martial technique in the world before. By the time the two of them regrouped and chased away all the rank 9 spirit beasts around the slope, Xiao Chen had already disappeared without a trace. How hateful! Situ-Lei clenched his teeth, and his complexion turned ashen. He stomped heavily on the ground, causing the mountain to tremble. Even if Lu Chen had snatched away the white nascent fruit, Situ-Lei would not have felt so sullen. However, he could not accept a nameless brat snatching away the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit. Lu Chen's expression was scarily unsightly as well, even worse than Situ-Lei's. Originally, His Lu clan was the first to discover the white nascent fruit. In his heart, the Lu clan had already treated the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit as their family treasure. The Lu clan had put in a lot of effort, mobilized many people, and lost many elite. In the end, it ended up benefiting someone else. How could Lu Chen accept this? After the white nascent fruit is picked, it has to be consumed within 12 hours. Any storage space is useless. This person cannot get far. We still have a chance, Sidule said with a sullen expression when he thought of something. If one did not pick the white nascent fruit in its entirety, it was best to consume it right after it was picked. Otherwise, the spiritual energy contained in it would slowly leak out. If one did not consume it within 12 hours, the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit would become an ordinary spirit fruit, no longer as miraculous as before. Lu Chen's eyes lit up with hope. That's right. He will not be able to leave the savage beast forest within 12 hours. If our two clans work together, we will definitely be able to find him. The two clans both had strongholds in the savage beast forest. They had far more people than Sidule and Sidule. The cultivation of the others might be weaker, but there were not many requirements for them to search for someone. On the other side, Xiao Qin ran for 5 kilometers before he stopped. He felt something wrong in the universe ring. He sent his spiritual sense in and discovered spiritual energy permeating the space within the universe ring. It was like a mist spreading everywhere. When he looked carefully, it turned out that the vast spiritual energy contained in the 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit was leaking out continuously. Even though a large amount of spiritual energy leaked out from the dazzling spirit fruit, it did not show any signs of dimming. This made one sigh. No wonder the two clans would use their entire clans to fight for it. However, continuing to leak out was not a solution. Even a fool could tell that something was wrong. Xiao Qin asked doubtfully, "Ao Jiao, what's going on?" Ao Jiao said with some pity, "Quickly consume it. Otherwise, its effects will be greatly reduced. It would have been great if we had uprooted it. It would have been even better if the roots were intact. That way we could have transplanted it into the immortal spirit ring." Xiao Qin smiled bitterly. Ao Jiao made it sound easy. At that time, it could be said that he had plucked it from the hands of two half-sages. If not for these two half-sages fearing each other and harboring ulterior motives, he would not have stood a chance. It would be very difficult to refine this 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit in a short time. The two clans would definitely send people to search for him.